never-ending story. The Astrolabe.
Time to end this suffering. I need a minute to myself. So I drift away. You will never get to me. What can't be done, I'll do myself. So I. We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Oh man, Bobby Ballbags, you're killing me in the pre-show. And the whole intro is playing Fighting with the Clanker. Just keep getting censored. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to split this out into separate words. You did let's fucking go. You did go, but you accidentally got a K at the end. So the Clanker thought that you were saying, let's fucking gook. Oh, man. And then he's like, what the fuck is this Jewish fucking goy slap my asshole bullshit? And that got through. Oh, my God. Man, I got to sit here and for the intro, I got a whole sequence of things I got to make sure I hit the button at just the right time. So I got to keep track of my mouse and everything. Because each of those little intro elements I play individually. And it's a very small thing that I have to click to do it. So I have to really pay attention and make sure I get my mouse down there. And occasionally it'll get lost on one of the screens here during the intro. And I'll be like, oh, shit, like trying to find it. So I'm sitting here dying watching what's happening in the chat, but also desperately trying to stay on top of where my mouse is. Oh, thank you for that, Bobby Ballbags. Patriot. Oh, well, we are here for a SaturnLabe. As I told you guys a couple days ago, this is going to become as regular of a thing as I can make it. I'm going to start moving the Wednesday labes to Saturday. And the intent will be that this will primarily be the day for pseudolabes. So we will pseudolabe and SaturnLabe together. Today we do not have a full pseudo, but we got a couple making up for it with a couple different pseudos. What's up, Slutty Milk? There he is. You were missed in the pre-show. People were mourning your absence. So I got a couple pseudos here for us today. A couple short pseudos, very good but shorter ones. Yes, the man does produce short form content as well, and it's all very, very good. You should follow him at Agit Propmaster. So had a long conversation with him earlier this week, and we've got some fun things in the works together. So Saturday is primarily going to be Sue Day, but today we actually have a contribution from Mr. Jeff Accordion. Jeff Accordion is beginning to dabble in the sort of longer form propaganda arts, And so we've got a video. It's about 20 minutes long from him. So we're going to see what I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to react in real time. So we'll play that. And then I got kind of a grab bag of other things to talk about. Got some fun stuff, some slop, some inspiring stuff, some admiration of our president. A couple of white pill things coming out of the administration. An interesting bill put forth by Congress regarding judicial accountability. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about sort of some of the stuff we were talking about yesterday with the color revolution and the connections between immigration and the intelligence communities and human trafficking and all this sort of thing. It's right. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, that human trafficking, we have this category we call migration and this category we call human trafficking. But really, this is the same category. There's some human trafficking that happens above ground, and then there's a tremendous amount of human trafficking that happens below ground. And the below ground stuff we call human trafficking, the above ground stuff we call migration, but it's really one and the same. So there's an interesting role that remittances play in this whole operation. And part of the reason why perhaps it's been difficult to get remittances taxed thus far. Remittance tax kicks in January 1st, but it is admittedly a small one because, oh boy,
Here we go.
alpha male alert,
Here comes the money.
Howie Snowden.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
Yesterday's LeBay was a banger.
Thank you, Howie. What a LeBay. Yes, it was. That was a fun LeBay. It's fun I always enjoy putting our schizo hat on and digging into some of that stuff. That was a good one. And I think it's going to become all the more relevant because it seems as if there's stuff kicking off even more so regarding Venezuela. So we'll also talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about this role that remittances play, a declassified CIA memo from 43 years ago from Mike Benz. And I've got a shorter video here of Mike Benz commenting on that. Then we'll talk a little bit about this color revolution, the recent operation that seems to be taking place. And right now, it also seems as if there's a bunch of stuff starting to kick off with respect to Venezuela. So if Superior B is still in the chat, he's gonna be keeping me posted. He is an avid follower of the, I don't even know what you would call him. What would you call him, Superior B, if you're there in the chat? It's like all the former military guys are just like aircraft enthusiast guys who have made they have just a hobby of just following where all the different aircraft are at any given time and when the big movements are, when they're starting to move them around, which direction, where, what's being moved. And so I was talking with him, DMing with him a little bit ago, and he was kind of bringing me up to date. Literally a third of the deployed naval assets in the world right now are in the Caribbean. 1/3 of all assets in theater or whatever the term is for it are deployed to the Caribbean specifically. And now it seems as if this Seditious Six thing has a direct connection to what's happening with the invasion being essentially there is an invasion force set up at our southern border. And the president has a defensive force set up to counter that and to start cutting off that flow of men and money and all sorts of stuff. So there's very clearly a war going on now between the Trump administration and global organized crime, as it's expressed through various different official and unofficial institutions. And perhaps a big question is to what extent global organized crime has infiltrated the Trump administration and is compromising it from the inside. And then so there's a battle happening within the administration. And we can talk about global organized crime as a single industry or a single entity, but that doesn't mean that all the different factions that comprise that are any more than if you talked about big tech. If you talk about big tech as a phenomenon, well, there's many ways in which any entity that would be part of big tech will operate according to the same principles or pursuing the same ends. But then there's lots of reasons why they'll also be hostile with one another. So when you speak of big tech, broadly speaking, you have to realize that you're dealing with a really low resolution term. That's a big catch-all term. that isn't meant to be super specific. So you might be able to identify some broad overarching trends and strategies, but then you have to really drill down in to recognize the different factions that exist within that catch-all term. So global organized crime, I think this is probably the best way to think about this, at least for the time being, that what we're watching is all the different factions of global organized crime beginning to arrange themselves into a standoff. And that standoff is becoming more and more overt. And part of the nature of organized crime is that sometimes they're going to straight up come to outright blows. Sometimes they're going to snake around each other. And sometimes they're just going to negotiate a stand down. And you get one faction that just changes sides. It's mob boss politics. We're truly re-entering the age of mob boss politics. And the age of like long-housey, very passive-aggressive, standoffish kind of covert politics is coming into conflict with straight-up mob boss politics. We're starting to see like who's going to win out now. Which methodology of doing politics is on the rise and which one is on the fall. And I think it's easy. It's not that like covert ops and dark operation, intelligence community stuff. It's not like that's going to go away. But there has been times where that way of doing politics is held subservient to the powerful central authority. And then there are times where it takes control of the powerful central authority. And so now we're starting to see various different powerful central authorities beginning to reassert control in their domains. And it seems as if this is a pattern that's going to continue to grow, that method of doing politics is on the rise. So this is I think kind of some of the background. This is like the lay of the land as of right now. And so there are members of Congress who are now engaged in directly cooperating with the so-called intelligence community to orchestrate a revolutionary coup. That's what's happening. And they're collaborating with foreign entities who are seeking to overthrow the government of the United States. That is the lay of the land at this moment right now. Mather says, I can't figure out how to tip my streamer. It is pinned in the chat. It's his last day to pay my November salary. This is I will not be streaming tomorrow. So thank you to Howie for the big alpha male alert. Oh, that reminds me. I forgot to plug in my soundboard. This is okay. Things are going to get a little sketchy here for just a moment because I took the iPad away from the desk yesterday and forgot to plug it back in. Hold on, let me get my collaborating desktop extension app opened. There we go. And then, here's the sketchy part. I got to open the soundboard. Ooh, okay. One wrong click and the whole stream will crash. There we go. Man, that went smoother than I expected. I was like, oh man, when I realized during the pre-show that I'd forgotten to do it. And I didn't know if plugging it in was going to disrupt the stream, so I didn't want to do that until you guys actually might understand why it's happening. But okay. Whew. All good. So there's the link. It is tips.kingpill.com. If you just want to type that in, it'll take you directly to the link, and you can support the show. It'll be read out here on stream. If you don't want to use PayPal or don't want to put your credit card info in, if you put your credit card info in, then they're going to require you to create an account. The account is free, but you have to create an account if you're going to use a credit or debit card. Don't have to create an account if you're using PayPal. You just connect your PayPal account. If you don't want to use either one, then you can go to Venmo or Cash App Patel, as they call it. And then you can just find me there at KingPilled. Let me know if you're in the chat and you send something over there, and let me know if you want me to read it or not. And I won't be able to play it through Justine, but if you want to send money and you don't want to hear Justine, maybe that's the way to do it. That's the Bypass Janine Fund. Venmo and Cash App at KingPilled. Also, I think there's a way you can tip through X as well. I connected my Venmo account and maybe like a Bitcoin address or something. I can't remember. So if you go to @KingPilled on X as well and you look at my profile, there's a tip button on there. Different ways that you can support the show. And of course, joining the King Pill Discord. You're really missing out if you don't do that. KingPill.com. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the Ukraine-Russia negotiations, and I've got a great video here from Susan Kokinda over at Promethean Action, who I really, really enjoy listening to her. And I'm not like perfectly aligned with her on her overall worldview. She's a little reductive in it, I think, and I don't know how much of that is because it's what she genuinely believes, and how much of it is just distilling it to communicate the notion and sort of overselling it a little bit just to get the point across. But either way, I really enjoy the way she's analyzing all of this stuff. She's a brilliant woman. So she's got a video here talking about the Ukraine-Russia negotiations and how Trump just locked the British Empire out of Ukraine peace talks, and they're panicking. And then, very interesting video released from the GOP Oversight Committee yesterday. Trump makes this huge announcement, has this barrage of truths, making a bunch of different proclamations and providing legal justifications for his proclamations and such, and signal boosting people basically Fed posting on Maine. And so every once in a while, he just is like, hey, I see you guys. I see you. And in this case, some of this stuff has some legit teeth. Now, one of them was him formally revoking anything that was done by the auto pen. Every action taken by Joe Biden with the auto pen has been formally declared illegitimate by the president, which that truce post has the force of law as much as any other executive proclamation. He could formally write it out in a post and post it on the website and print it out and sign it with a marker, but that would just be a formality. That wouldn't increase the legal weight of it. So, right at the time that he makes this great pronouncement, we also get a video dropped from the GOP Oversight Committee. Speaking of whom...
Ready your bonks in the chat. Boobies, 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 auto pen.
Oh, I was prepared for that to go a whole lot longer. Thank you, GOP Oversight Committee. You guys, you're a bunch of patriots. That's how you get someone's attention. Start rhythmically chanting boobies. So now that you guys have all been put into a trance, let me feed some information into your brains. So there's a video here talking about how completely stage managed Biden was, up to and including recruiting famous Hollywood directors to help cover up his obvious decline and decline into incoherence and like insane, completely had forsaken his own senses. They even recruited famous Hollywood directors to help cover it up. So there's a video here dropped by the GOP House Oversight Committee, and I just cannot look beyond the fact that this seems clearly to be coordinated with Trump announcing that he's revoking everything done with the auto pen. Now they're providing the justification to make it politically, like, just no questions, putting this evidence out there very clearly as substantiation for what now seems to be obvious upcoming legal fights over things that were done with the auto pen. And so then the question is, how far are they going to take this? Why would this be something that he and Congress would be allied on or cooperating on? So got a video on all of that as well. And that should more or less take us through the end of the show. So unless Superior B shows up with some crazy information from what's ongoing with Venezuela, then that's what you have to look forward to. So first of all, let's do a celebration of autism. What do you guys say about that? Celebration of autism. Look at this. Incredible performance. This is a visual one.
Dang, that is crazy. What about
Clorox.
Clorox? Dang, dude, that looks just like it. What about Febreze?
Why did you sound like you're mad?
I'm not. I'm just amazed. Campbell's. Dang.
This is when autism is a superpower.
Dude, you were just cooking, bro. What the hell? What the hell? What about Cadbury? Yo. That is crazy. That is very crazy. TikTok.
I mean, why wouldn't you just have? Why wouldn't your mind just take a picture of every single thing you see and be able to just perfectly recall it and immediately reproduce it with chalk on pavers? Like, why would that not be an innate human capacity?
That's when TikTok was made.
Nice. What about Coors?
2016, huh?
Coors?
Or
Like the beer? Coors?
Now, this is a tough one.
You gonna see?
Does the kid
Or
know
do
the
you remember
beer logos
I don't
too?
know what that is. I don't like. No. What's that? Oh.
it? Yeah, you remember, right?
Wild. Our adjunct prop master says, "Tell your wife I'm not autistic. I just work hard and love propaganda." Yeah. He's like the modern day Catch Me If I Can kid. Yeah, totally. Totally. Okay, what was this one? Oh yeah, Ben Bankus. He's one of our greatest patriots out there dropping comedy like this. He's pushing the limits. He says, "I hear Minnesota is beautiful this time of year."
See, I'm not racist. It's just the outfits that bother me. Like I was at Boston Logan Airport. A family of Somalians came in. Typical Somalian family, you know, one husband, 3 wives, 10 children. You know, all the women were wearing, you know, that. Just that with a little hole in it.
He's pointing at curtains.
Have you ever seen the Somalian burqa? It's different. It's, you know, looks. You ever see those skydivers where they wear the flying squirrel outfit? Kind of looks like that.
I love that he's doing this in a Disneyland.
And I mean, I wasn't even bothered by that. They were in the same line as me. It was general screening. They unclipped and then they got into the priority line, and the TSA guy was like, no, you can't do that. And then the woman just started speaking at him, like in her language. She was just like, you know how they sound. You've seen Star Wars. And
we're getting IRL Star Wars name jokes, and you're blackpilling?
listen, I'm joking. I love Minnesota. Anyway, they call it the Pirate State.
Oh, Ben Bankus, one of our great patriots. How about an Erica for that? Thank you for the tip through Cash App to Mathers. Thank you, my friend. $25. He says, for Tucker is burning up the anti-Semitism fuel. Yes. Yes, I actually have the... here, if you guys stick out through the very end of the show, the very last thing I have today is the Tucker Piers Morgan clip. Very interesting. This is another thing where I'm like, I pay attention more to Tucker, what Tucker's doing, what he's talking about, when he's talking about it. I actually have another Tucker post a little earlier because he's obviously close to JD Vance. He's close to the White House. He's very well plugged in, very connected. You don't get to be someone like Tucker and not be sort of a hub for all sorts of different connections. Tucker is himself an influence operation. He's a living, breathing influence operation. And so the question is, what is he influencing toward and for whom? And there seems to be some pretty clear correlations between when he decides to do and say things and when they actually happen. And so, yeah. So the fact that he's going to the UK right now to go do some sort of really goofy interview with Piers Morgan and to raise a stir about Tommy Robinson is very interesting. Anyways, let's keep this going here. This grandpa, one of our great patriots. This is a particular type of guy that's not going to be around much longer. So whenever I see something with this type of guy, I like to just kind of pause and bask in it. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it while we have it. Girl pulls a prank on Patriot Grandpa.
Okay. Thank you for choosing me to be in the drawing for the 2025 Democratic Great Scholars Awards. I have my papa with me today. Introduce yourself.
I'm Larry.
And my papa...
I'm Larry.
I've chosen my papa because he showed me how great the Democratic Party really has been. When Joe Biden won president, my papa...
His face.
The Democratic Party really has been.
You said what? Papa's radar went up.
When Joe Biden...
He said his name is Larry. Larry, but it came out like lag. Look at my Papa American.
Biden won president, my papa called me so excited because Joe had won. And
Look at his face. What in the hell? He's like starting to make contingency plans for his whole life is blowing up in front of his face. How am I going to live in this world?
The Democratic Party was now in office. This year, Trump is
chewing on his own lips.
Very sad for this upcoming. Papa, you can't laugh.
I can't help it.
I can't help it.
I can cut that part out.
How come you didn't go with the other route?
Because this was the scholarship that they had.
I just got my will sorted. Yeah, right. He's rethinking so many decisions right now.
One they had to offer.
And I gotta be a Democrat?
Yes. It's fine. We can just cut
He's like, that's the funniest thing you could suggest to me.
that part out.
Yeah, you cut it out.
Okay.
Hey, and when Trump won, I was happy.
I know, but you just act like you weren't. So when Trump won this year, he was very sad for this upcoming election. But that is okay, and my papa is going to share with you today some of the great things that the Democratic Party has done. Papa!
I can't do it. I'm sorry, hon. I'll have to give you the $10,000.
I'll give you $1,000, he says. Papa is a gosh darn patriot. How dare you associate my name with the Democrats? Are you kidding? You're going to get me on camera saying that I love Democrats? I wouldn't be caught dead saying anything good about Democrats. What are you talking about? I'm an American. Okay. Did you know that you can engage in propaganda every day in your real life? A message from our great propagandist at AgitPropMaster on Twitter.
Hello, friends. You must be on the right. Are you tired of the left controlling your culture yet? I thought so. Let's get ourselves out of here. Now that we've escaped that mental prison camp, it's time we took the fight to the enemy. And that means propaganda. American liberals spend $2 trillion every year deploying propaganda against you, destroying your symbols, your heritage, your faith, your nation, replacing them with ugliness. Mad enough to fight back yet? Tired of being a weaponless loser in this fight? Good, because we artists and propagandists on the right need your support, like an army needs bullets, beans, and bandages. With your help, we can counterattack the enemy. But how, you ask? Well, that depends on who you are.
I've got an idea. Why don't we just kill
Everyone
him?
can play their part to deploy our propaganda weapon system, starting with our creators. If you are creative, create as much and as well as you can. And don't be shy about what you believe while you are creating. If you are a leader, hire people who push your values, marginalize the enemy, and replace leftist ugliness with timeless beauty wherever you can.
Marginalize the enemy!
Get involved in your community, in organizations, in clubs, in church. At every turn, remove your enemy's ugly symbols and philosophy and faith and stories and replace them with your symbols, your philosophy, your faith, your stories. And whoever you are, share what you like with the people you meet. Be proud of who you are and what you believe. You can engage in propaganda every day in your real life. Join us, join me, and make American propaganda great. Again.
Salute.
You need to be propagandizing in your real life. Are you ready to begin? The pseudo wave. We're going to do things to them that have never been done before. We're going to replace their stories with ours. Here's a great story from one Stormy Waters talking about Mr. Friedrich List. This is Stormy Wave number 2. You guys have heard this one. I played it on the show before about how John Pierpont Morgan saved the United States federal government and our currency, as told by Mr. Stormy Waters. JP Morgan nationalism. Now we get Stormy Waters at Mr. Norman Dodd at Mr. at Norman Dodd _new and Mr. List say infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure.
The government must take the money generated from tariffs and it needs to build infrastructure, not subsidize individual industries, but build the infrastructure that all of the businesses operate on. Let me give you an example. One of the things that Frederick List, once he came to America and basically sat on the fucking stairs of Congress till somebody would listen to him, thank God somebody did. One of the things that they picked up and ran with after the Civil War was this infrastructure subsidization, the need to spend on infrastructure. This is what got you the Transcontinental Railroad. Right? What else was happening at the time? Well, the gold rush in California and the Pacific Northwest was happening at the time. Before the Transcontinental Railroad, it took 9 months. 9 months for a ship from New York Harbor to dock in San Francisco Bay because the Panama Canal didn't exist yet. You had to go all the way around South America and come all the way back up. Right? It was 10 times, I don't think it was 10 times, I think it was like 4 or 5 times longer than just a transatlantic journey. And then you had to load up all that gold and go 9 months back. The Transcontinental Railroad turned 9 months into 9 weeks. The picks and the shovels only took 9 weeks. Actually, sometimes less, sometimes only 4 weeks to get to San Francisco. And the gold coming back same time. So you were able to get more picks and shovels to the gold miners and get that gold back to produce more picks and shovels faster. Orders of magnitude faster. So just in gold mining, just in the railroad, within 5 fucking years of its completion, the gold holdings of the United States quintupled. So 5x in 5 years with one piece of infrastructure. Just one. Then what happened? Then we built the canal system all throughout the United States. God fucking loves America. It loves America more than any other country. Because the only thing better than a railroad in your country is navigable waterways. Inland navigable waterways, i.e. rivers. The U.S. has more navigable waterways than all other countries in the fucking world put together. Because God loves us more than all the other countries put together. For every dollar it costs to drive something down the road in a truck, it costs 10 cents to roll it down the road in a train, and less than 1 cent to float it. Right? So you have just dropped the transportation and logistics cost of every fucking industrial facility in America, and all of the companies and farmers and fucking miners and everybody else that sells industrial product, right? Industrial inputs to the factories, to the industry, right? I need iron ore to get to Carnegie Steel for steel bars to get made. Right? Industrial inputs, both the industrial input producers and the industrial producers themselves, you've just dropped their costs on transportation and logistics and bringing their finished goods to market. You just dropped it 99%. 99%. That money gets to go into building new factories, hiring more people, right? Doing more advanced manufacturing.
It's a feedback loop.
Right? Infrastructure is what the government must subsidize with the money generated from tariffs.
One of the best stormy waves you're ever going to hear. That is so freaking crucial. That's just the key to it all. This is why I'm so laser focused on the economic side of what Trump is doing. Why because you got to follow the money. Where is the money going? And when the money starts going to places where it's very clear, there's like a clear set of environmental circumstances, it's being funneled into an ecosystem that's going to create a bunch of positive feedback loops like this, that are going to make a bunch of people really, really wealthy. Once those things start getting underway, they're very difficult to stop. Lots of other stuff can be flying around them and all sorts of stuff here and there and everywhere can be going off. But that stuff's going to keep steaming forward. And it becomes self-realizing itself, because the more trajectory or the more momentum you get down that trajectory, the more momentum you're going to get. Momentum breeds momentum. This is why the Trump administration has spent the first year getting way out ahead of this, even maybe to their own political detriment. They have gone as far out ahead and as fast as they can on this front, knowing that there is going to be some sort of war thrust upon them. It's going to come. But one of the things that they've done is they've rallied a lot of the wealthy interests whose wealth is tied to America domestically, and they've gotten them bought in, pot committed into building up the wealth of America. So that for those people now, they have to choose between their own wealth and their own ideological commitments. And they now, if you suddenly set up an us versus them of homeland versus everyone else, if you set that up, you then incentivize people to attack that homeland, which incentivizes people to reactively defend that homeland. So by creating this really stark us versus them rhetorically that Trump has done since he came on the scenes, he has set up this conflict point where invariably when America begins defending its own interests to the exclusion of the global interests, even the global interests as present within the American homeland, you start riling up the sentiments of the people who are invested in the American homeland. And it turns out there's a tremendous number of people who are invested in the American homeland. And there are even foreign people, wealthy foreigners, who want to see the American homeland be productive and successful because their wealth is downstream from that. So they're willing to pour money into building infrastructure in America because they know that if America grows bigger and more powerful, its market becomes wealthier and deeper, they will benefit by being downstream of that. And this is why we truced. We truced so that we can keep feeding that. Keep feeding that burst of sentiment. Not even a burst. That makes it seem like it's kind of like a flash in a pan. No, this is deep, rousing sentiment. Whether it's more sentimental, like patriotism, or if it's just simple greed. Wait a second, America's where I keep all my stuff. These people are attacking and undermining America. I don't like that because I like having a place to keep my stuff. So, I'm going to get activated. Yeah, the second Gilded Age. The Golden Age indeed. Inaugurated by the Golden Man. All right, now, today we do not have a full Pseudowave. Next Saturday, next Saturlabe, we will have a full Pseudolabe. But what we do have today is a preview. And for those of you who were in the pre-show, you may recognize why the Cyberbully chose as his token clanker banger to satisfy Mr. Sue by request, why it was what it was.
Turn around, look at what you see in her face, the mirror of your dream. Make believe I'm everywhere, getting in the light. Written on the pages is the answer to a never-ending story. What you see will be. Run to keep their secrets behind the clouds. There upon a rainbow is the answer to a never-ending
Oh, yes. You guys are not going to want to miss this one. This is going to be a incredible SPIELBERG. So make sure you tune in next Saturday for something tremendous. This one, I cheated. I have to confess, I cheated, but I did it because he told me to. So you can't blame me. I had already seen this. When I was on the phone with the man the other day, he was like, I want to hear you react to it in real time. This may be the first piece of Suda content that I have ever consumed before I actually played it on the show. Week 46 will be the never-ending legend. Make sure you guys don't miss that. Now, we have another propagandist to celebrate. Mr. Jeff Accordion. At Adjust Accordionly, Nostalgia Is, a new video, 18 minutes and 56 seconds of pure chaos. Batman, Taco Bell, vibe shifts, the death of the economic dream, the pulp to blockbuster pipeline, merchandising, cinema's collapse, LLM sexual assaults, abortion wars, Mexico's full unabridged history, women in the discourse, and nostalgia as the ultimate weapon. There's something here for everyone. You can find Adjust Accordionly on Substack, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and follow the man himself, Jeff Accordion, on X. Here we go. Time for, come on, Nostalgia Is from Adjust Accordionly.
It's great tasting because we use fresh ground beef, never frozen, and it's cooked in our own famous sauce.
Real cheddar cheese.
Come taste the one and only original
Taco Bell full of white people.
Greetings, Bat fans. This is Batman.
And Robin, the boy wonder.
And me too, Bat-Mite.
Welcoming you to the new adventures of Batman. Watch us wage our never-ending battle of good versus evil.
Ride with us as we chase the greatest array of villains the world has ever seen, proving that crime does not pay.
Get set for thrills and action. Join me, Batman.
And me, Robin the Boy Wonder.
And Batgirl. And me too, Bat-Mite.
In the super new adventures of
Batman.
A Minneapolis man is threatening legal action after an online chatbot posted disturbing details involving him. In a now deleted post on X, Grok, the app's artificial intelligence chatbot, gave users a detailed plan on how to break into Will Stansel's home and
rape me. Looks like there's a fascist maniac on the loose, Jamal.
It do be looking like that, Mr. Stansel.
It do be, Mr.
Somebody's
Stansel.
gotta do something.
And that somebody is me. I'm gonna find this Nazi monster, and I'm gonna end him. Permanently.
Oh, Grok is taking control. It do be like that.
Stansel Waffen Techno Shock Troops. Figures and accessories each sold separately from Thunderplay Toys.
It's a seductive story in a lot of ways because it says that
we don't have to deal with the systemic disadvantage they have faced their entire lives that these students are forced to reckon with from childbirth.
Will Stansel's an expert on black people.
Planned Parenthood pauses abortions after a federal appeals court decision.
I talked over it. Oh my God.
That these students are forced to reckon with from childbirth. Instead, we just send them to
Planned Parenthood pauses abortions after a federal appeals court decision allowed part of President Donald Trump's tax and
Jeff
spending
Accordion,
bill
you
to
madman.
take effect. This means any organization providing abortion care will have its Medicaid federal funding cut for now. Planned Parenthood, one of the state's largest abortion care providers, halted abortion appointments as of Wednesday.
We're all disappointed. We believe this is essential care, and we want as many providers as possible.
Wow. We're not going to do that anymore. Wow.
Let's face it, the dollar just isn't what it used to be. That's why people like you and me, we gotta be careful to get the most value for our money. That's why I come here, Taco Bell. I can feed my whole family for $5.59.
What
Two
the
tacos,
hell?
2 bean burritos, 2 tostadas, pintos and cheese, soft drinks, only $5.59. Like they're saying, Taco Bell. What a meal, what a deal. No kidding.
Taco Bell.
We're going on an adventure, man.
You look fine. I didn't ask.
I have given a name to my pain.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
My life is really complex.
Terrorizes. Wait till they get a load of me.
You're going to run into somebody new at Taco Bell.
What are you?
He's Batman. And Taco Bell's got him. on 4 collectible Batman cups. Just buy a 32-ounce drink and your cup refills and new cinnamon twists are all free.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
Tell them to drive, fly, or just drop by today to collect your free Batman cups. Only at Taco Bell.
Take me back!
Call from private caller.
Hello. No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Holy crap!
If you were born in the 80s or 90s, you grew up in a world that doesn't exist anymore. You remember when friendship meant knocking on someone's door, not sending a text. When Saturday mornings were made for cartoons, not scrolling feeds. When happiness came from mixtapes, bike rides, and streetlights telling you it was time to go home. But here's what makes your generation different. You were the bridge. The last to know life without technology, and the first to grow up adapting to it. You lived through payphones and dial-up, and then watched the world transform into something faster, louder, and harder to escape. And maybe that's why people born in the 80s and 90s carry a certain ache, a nostalgia for simplicity, a quiet wish that joy could still feel as easy as it once did. If that feels like you, it's because you carry 2 worlds inside you.
I'm getting radicalized. What a segue!
Bam bam, mon ça se place, j'ai sur mon lit à bouffer sa langue en buvant trop mon whisky. Quant à moi, peu dormi, vie débris, mais j'ai dû dormir dans la gouttière où j'ai eu
It's a banger!
Yeah. En 4 couleurs. Allez hop, un matin, une louloute est venue chez moi, poupée de cellophane, cheveux chinois. Un sparadrap, une gueule de bois. A bu ma bière dans un grand verre en caoutchouc. Comme un indien dans son igloo. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi, moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, la nana, quel panard, quelle vibration de s'envoyer sur paillasson. Lit, mais ruiné, vidé, comblé. You are the king of the divan, qu'elle me dit en passant. I am the king of the divan. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black
Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, t'occupe, t'inquiète, touche pas ma planète. It's not today que le ciel me tombera sur la tête. Et que la colle me manquera.
Your entrance was
Ça
good.
plane pour moi.
His was better.
What is it about the wrong kind of man?
It's the car, right? Chicks love the car.
Train me. Let me be your partner.
Allez hop,
Monsieur Taylor.
c'est tiré, c'est barré, enfin c'est marre à tout casser. L'évier, le bar me laissant seul. Comme un grand connard. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane
Freeze. I'm Batman.
moi. Ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Oh, man! This video was made specifically for me. I've been successfully baited. Ah! There's a window of like 8 or 10 years of people who like this is for us. Chomp! Oh, the trolls. Surge! Oh, I loved Surge. Oh. Oh! You motherfucker! Jeff Accordion.
There are many types of propaganda. Propaganda comes in all flavors, shapes, and sizes. Some is obvious. It tells you what you should think and how you should believe or behave. Other kinds are more subtle, less direct, more layered. Nostalgia is such a propaganda. It's an echo of something else, something familiar. Nostalgia is a funny thing. It's the joy of childhood in the heart of a man. Think back. Remember fondly your most joyful memories. When you pick one, take a look around and tell me what you see. What does your joy look like? Is it family? Is it a friend? Do you think of something that filled your heart with so much wonder that the joy has spanned decades? When you do this, are you a man or are you a boy? Is magic real? Can you smell the scene? Can you describe the colors, the sights, the sounds? Your memories are bigger than the moments they hold. You can go there if you like. You can remember and you can feel. You can feel joy. Not just any joy, the joy of moments past. The joy of old wisdoms lost to the mundane urgency
I had that
of a
jacket.
quiet, normal life. Responsibilities, tasks, menial things, daily totems. You're not a man, you're a child, and you're in love with the world. America isn't an idea. We're not fighting over concepts. America is a people. America is a history. Nostalgia is us. It makes us who we are. Nostalgia is good. It teaches and holds our history. Nostalgia is a weapon, the most valuable in our arsenal. Make art. Be the weapon.
Holy crap. I feel like I need a cigarette and a stiff drink after that one. Jeff Accordion. You hero. All hail Jeff Accordion. That was incredible, man. That was so finely tuned to grab. There's a window of, I was saying this, like a window of, I don't know, maybe 10 years of people. Or if you were born in that 10 years, that just drilled down into the very bottom of your soul. I don't think I've had that many, like, holy shit, I haven't thought about that in a long time moments. So densely packed into 18 minutes and 56 seconds. Oh, I got total nostalgia overload. Jeff Accordion, man, we have got the best propagandists. This is incredible. Incredible. Thank you, man. I cannot wait for the next one. This is just too good. Things are happening, folks. Ha! X wants to play it again. Oh. Yeah, Neva Toter, it was the last era, of a centralized culture we all got blasted with. Yeah. His X account is Jeff Accordion. Jeff Accordion. Yeah, that does deserve an Erica.
Auf der Heide blüht ein kleines Blümelein. Und das heißt Erika.
Political Catholic says you can thank your favorite propagandist by dropping the video in J.D. Vance's comments and asking him to anoint Jeff as Minister of Regime Propaganda. We got Jeff and we got Suda. We need the two of them to just run the show. Produce all of the propaganda. Activate the millennial soul. Oh. Kate says, I don't remember the 90s too well since I was little, but what I do remember was amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Man. Long live the 90s. Okay. Now, a contribution, a submission, one might say, from Mrs. Kingpilled. Hold on, let me make sure I get this in the right spot so I know where to pick up. Okay, How to Ruin Thanksgiving 101. The Wife Jack submission of the day. Patriot! Keep it right!
Right on set as the alpha male and the most
alpha male
in the family. It's only right. It's only right that I'm the one giving a speech today. Douglas, shuck it. We have a lot to be thankful for. The beautiful people around us, the beautiful food in front of us, and the fact that we live in a time where you can get as much zinc as you want. And I don't even care about ruining Thanksgiving.
Zinc maxing!
This just came in from Amazon. Beautiful purchase. Freedom funnel, baby.
Freedom funnel!
Oh, there's some chunks in there. Keep it raw, everyone.
Hell yeah!
Some real American beer from Hulk Hogan. Cheers, baby.
Now that's a Thanksgiving.
Ah! Keep it raw.
Oh, I want to be invited to that Thanksgiving next year. How do I acquire one of those freedom funnels? That's what I want to know. Where are we going to get one of those? It wasn't done? There's more. Oh. The European mind cannot comprehend. I wonder if he's a Bills fan. There's that freedom funnel. Yeah, where do you get one of these? Come on. Here, let's get a closer up look of it. I don't even know what you would call it. Is it called a freedom funnel? Wouldn't that be amazing? It is! Ah! Look at this! Here you go, I found it. I just looked for freedom funnel. American freedom funnel, the patriotic Eagle beer bong. Here you go. Eagle-shaped chug technology. All right, who was it? Who was asking for it? Someone said, where do you find that freedom funnel? Who was it? Han Pritchard. There you go. I honestly didn't expect that to come up when I searched for it. $40. Holds 60 ounces of freedom, sits presidentially. Beverage in, freedom out. Demand authority at weddings or family functions or at work. Reach your full potential party patriotically. Beautiful. Made in the USA. Made in the best country by the best people. Go get yourselves a freedom funnel. Yeah, that's a tremendous white elephant gift. Here, I'll throw the link in the chat, and then it'll be in the podcast description later on if you guys want to get it. Oh, that's great. Okay. More propaganda. Here was the Trump War Room account highlighting our great friends over at Mythomaga. Mythomaga is an incredible account. Incredible. If you are on X and you're not following Mythomaga, or Mythomiller, one for Stephen Miller, you are missing out on just nonstop Kino every single day. And finally, the Trump War Room shouted him out just the other day. Also, these guys are friends with the I can never remember the name of the channel. An Appeal to Pragmatism. And it's right up here. Look at that. I got it. Donald Trump posting Geiger Capital tweets, Jack Posobiec tweets. Yeah. If you want a nonstop stream of white pills, go follow the An Appeal to Pragmatism Telegram channel. What was this? Andrew Colvett said, I'll say it again, President Trump's moratorium on third world migration will be his most popular policy to date. White progressives will be the most outraged. They predominantly run the media. Ignore them. Real Americans of all races will enthusiastically support it. Jack Posobiec quote-tweeted that and said, Trump's moratorium on third world migration will be his most popular policy to date. And then Trump posted a screenshot of that on Truth Social. But here is our great Mythomaga.
There's a place off Ocean Avenue where I used to sit and talk with you. We were both 16 and it felt so right. Sleeping all day, staying up all night. That you're here
more millennial bait.
tonight. If I could find you now, things would get better. We could leave this town and run forever. I know somewhere, somehow we'll be together. Let your waves crash down on me and take me away, yeah.
Oh, where are my unironic yellow card enjoyers at out there? I'm loud and proud, not ashamed. Yellow card to my president. Can you think of a better combination? Speaking of our president, listen to this, a profound comment on the metaphysics of beauty. My president is a philosopher. Even a building can be redeemed by a beautiful death.
The World Trade Center was never considered great architecture until September 11th. On September 11th, everyone said, including me, I never considered it great architecture. The buildings honestly were cold and they didn't work great from inside. You had these big elevators that took everybody to the middle and then they dispersed and you get into another elevator. The lobbies were cold. Getting to them was very difficult in the windswept plain we used to call. Everything didn't work. But on September 11th, you said, boy, they're magnificent. And now when you look at the old pictures of downtown Manhattan and you see the World Trade Center, you say, what magnificent architecture. And I say it too. And I never thought that much of the architecture previous. So it's a little like Marilyn Monroe. I mean, you know, death, whether it's a human or whether it's a building, can oftentimes change opinion very quickly.
Like I said, my president is a philosopher. In an incredible move, Trump Interior Secretary Doug Burgum confirms that foreigners must pay triple the amount that Americans pay to get into U.S. national parks.
This year, we're making it easier and more affordable for every American to experience the beauty and freedom of our public lands. Starting in 2026, United States residents will be
the most founding father physiognomy of all time. And Doug Burgum looks like an eagle.
able to purchase an annual interagency pass for just $80. This incredible pass gives the holder access to all of our 63 flagship national parks, hundreds of national historic sites and battlefields, and our over 200 million acres of amazing U.S. national forests. And for our international visitors, a new $250 pass ensures they contribute their fair share to help preserve and maintain these treasured places. We're also unveiling commemorative new designs for our park passes.
Look at these!
We're offering new designs on our
Yes! Trump with George Washington.
Our annual pass, the volunteer pass,
Teddy!
the military pass,
My
and
president!
our senior pass. It is the department's honor to showcase the America the Beautiful Pass, honoring America's 250th anniversary and the generations who've protected our lands. To celebrate, we're adding 5 new fee-free days for U.S. residents during calendar 2026. This brings the total of fee-free days to 10 for next year. A few of these new fee-free days include Sunday, June 14th, Flag Day, which is also fittingly President Trump's birthday. Thursday, September 17th, Constitution Day, and on October.
We need to make sure that, I don't know if you do his birthday or what, but there needs to be a Donald Trump Day.
October 27th, the birthday of Theodore Roosevelt, who played an enormous...
Like, do you just make Flag Day Donald Trump's birthday, and you celebrate the two at the same time?
...role in the creation of our national park system in our 573 U.S. Fish and Wildlife refuges.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, July 13th. Yeah, that would be a good one, the day he got shot. Yes!
Will also be a fee-free day. And as recognition of the 250th anniversary of America's founding, July 3rd, 4th, and 5th of 2026 will all be fee-free days across our incredible national park system.
You got to be making your plans for what you're going to do on the 4th of July next year. How are you going to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday?
As Theodore Roosevelt once said, there can be no greater issue than that of conservation in this country. And if you buy one of these park passes or plan a visit to one of our parks, you're contributing to conservation of these incredible places. We're also making it easier to access our parks. Starting on January 1, a digital pass will be available for the very first time. For those of you that love to travel by motorcycle through our beautiful parks, one pass will now cover 2 motorcycles instead of just one. These changes reflect our commitment to affordability, so that every family from every corner of our country can share in the wonder and abundance of our public lands. Plan your visit now for 2026 by visiting recreation.gov, where you could also buy a pass online, and we hope to see you in 2026. Happy anniversary, America.
Yeah, my wife says if you have kids, check out the Campground Kids book series, speaking of national parks. She's been listening to these audiobooks with Eastwood for a while now, and he is so excited about national parks. He just wants to visit national parks. He talks about a bunch of different ones that he wants to go see. So we're gonna have to plan ourselves a vacation to some national parks now, because he's at that age where he's gonna start remembering them, remembering these vacations. I remember stuff I did when I was 5. I remember some trips and stuff I went on with my family that I still think about today. So we're going to need to start treating our young fella to some of those experiences. If you would like to support the efforts to treat Eastwood to national park experiences, do go to tips.kingpill.com or to Venmo or Cash App and contribute to my streamer salary to help me fund our next trip to go visit a national park with my son Eastwood. And I'm sure that we will listen to Campground Kids books while we're driving. My wife said that they've been doing it for about 2 weeks and they're on book 9. They're really wholesome. You tired of the fake news? The White House account has a place for you. Get the facts, track the worst offenders, and see the fake news exposed. They have an offender hall of shame, whitehouse.gov/media bias.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
Seditious!
You can refuse illegal orders.
Seditious!
You must refuse illegal orders.
The president has never given an illegal order. These people know what they are doing.
They know what they're
Our laws
doing.
are clear.
Misleading, biased, exposed. Media Offender of the Week. The Boston Globe, CBS News, and The Independent. The offense? The media misrepresented President Trump's call for members of Congress to be held accountable for inciting sedition by saying that he called for their execution. They're naming the reporters: Alyssa Vega, Andrew Feinberg, Eric Garcia, Nancy Cortez. The claim: media misrepresents and exaggerates President Trump's calls for Democrat accountability. Category: misrepresentation and omission of context. The truth: Democrats and fake news media subversively implied that President Trump had issued illegal orders to service members. Every order President Trump has issued has been lawful. It is dangerous for sitting members of Congress to incite insubordination in the United States military, and President Trump called for them to be held accountable. Key points: Democrats released a video calling for service members to disobey their chain of command and in turn implied President Trump had issued illegal orders. President Trump has never issued an illegal order. The fake news knew that, but ran with the story anyways, and they have sources. They have now added them to the Offender Hall of Shame, a record of the media's false and misleading stories flagged by the White House. Scroll for the truth. So you can sort, filter by publication, by reporter name, and by the category of fake news. And you can sort through all of this and find all the different fake news offenders. Let's pick one. Let's say Felicia Schwartz. Politico: bias, malpractice, and omission of context. His inexperience shines through, was the claim. Steve Witkoff struggles to manage Russia as Trump peace envoy. Beautiful. And they have a leaderboard, the race to the bottom. This is, I've got, let me see if I can switch this. I've got dark mode on, so it looks like you can't see part of it. There you go. You still kind of can't see as well, but Washington Post is in first. MSNBC, CBS. Oh, they've actually got a whole bunch they're in first. Then here's the repeat offenders. These outlets don't just get it wrong, they do it over and over again. Interesting. I wonder of what utility it would be to have a collaborated, established network of lying media outlets. And you can sign up for offender alerts delivered to your inbox if you want the truth each week. Very, very interesting. All right, let me make sure that dark mode is on. All right, now this one's interesting. I had to do a little bit of digging because this this write-up here from Mario Nawfal is not completely accurate. But Republicans just filed the Judicial Accountability Act to start imprisoning judges who keep releasing violent repeat offenders. The bill is simple and brutal. Any judge who releases a defendant on personal recognizance or low bail, and that defendant commits another felony within 12 months, faces automatic federal charges, up to 10 years in prison and permanent disbarment. They even attached a public database, every soft-on-crime judge's name, photo, and recidivism rap sheet posted online, so victims' families can see exactly who let their loved one's killer walk 3 times before the murder. Sponsored by the same GOP hardliners who watched Darrell Brooks plow through a Christmas parade after a $1,000 bail and Waukesha's judge still has her robe. Democrats are screaming attack on judicial independence, but independence doesn't mean immunity when your compassion leaves bodies on the street. So he wrote here that this was House Bill H.R. 9177, Judicial Accountability Act. There were people who were saying that that's not, that it doesn't exist because it is not H.R. 9177. It is actually this one, H.R. 5649. Introduced by Representative Tim Moore, Republican from North Carolina. So it's been introduced. If you want to chimp about something, chimp about this. For them to actually bring this up and pass it. I really doubt that they would have the votes for it, because I assume I have a very low estimation of Congress. But this would be a great chimping target to start calling up your congressman and telling them to pass this. Another headline here: nearly half of FBI agents in major offices reassigned to immigration enforcement. Data shows stunning shift in law enforcement priorities that has raised public safety concerns. Nearly half of the FBI agents working in the U.S.'s major field offices have been reassigned to aid immigration enforcement, according to newly released data. A stunning shift in law enforcement priorities that has raised public safety concerns. Personnel data obtained by Mark Warner, a Democratic senator, and shared with The Guardian suggests the Trump administration has moved 45% of FBI agents in the country's 25 largest field offices to support the Department of Homeland Security's immigration crackdown. Across all of the FBI's offices, 23% of the roughly 13,000 total agents at the Bureau are now working on immigration, according to Warner, the top-ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee. Warner's office said the FBI agents now deployed alongside immigration and customs enforcement agents have been taken away from their work tackling cyber crimes, drug trafficking, terrorism, espionage, violent crimes, counterintelligence, and other efforts that are part of the Bureau's mission, some areas that Trump has claimed are White House priorities. It's almost like immigration enforcement ties directly back into all of these other things. Violent crimes, counterintelligence, espionage, terrorism, drug trafficking, cyber crimes. Aren't these all just downstream of immigration? The whole immigration operation? Yeah, right, Slendy Milk. Cash isn't doing anything. The data first reported by the Washington Post suggests the FBI is dramatically shifting its objectives in an effort to back Trump's increasingly aggressive immigration raids, with the administration targeting 3,000 daily arrests and seeking to expand its detention capacity to detain more than 100,000 immigrants. The data is understanding the scale of the reorganization, as the FBI only provided counts for agents who are now spending more than half of their job doing immigration enforcement, according to Warner. The senator's office said it was likely that more than a quarter of FBI agents' total hours were now dedicated to immigration, and that in some field offices, more than half of the agents had been redirected to DHS. He's whining and complaining about it. The transformation of the FBI has raised alarms about the potential consequences for communities targeted by immigration raids and the impact on the work the Bureau is abandoning. Now, it's interesting. I wonder to what extent this is about redirecting, like forcibly redirecting agents, like that could potentially be involved in some sort of corruption or something like that, away from their other efforts. And this kind of is a thing that cuts both ways. Like, yeah, it's great. You got the FBI redirected, dedicating as many resources as you can to the immigration enforcement effort. But if you've got a quarter of FBI agents, I guarantee you that there's a substantial portion of that subset who are themselves corrupt or on the take in some sense. And so you're going to have to embrace the fact that some of your immigration enforcement stuff is going to have moles and traitors and stuff within it. But, you know, what are you going to do? The move is in line with FBI Director Kash Patel's efforts to purge the Bureau of agents seen as disloyal to Trump, German noted, noting reports of the termination of personnel involved in the January 6th investigation. Yeah, there's another one. FBI personnel who were involved in the January 6th investigation were fired. FBI agents, he said, are generally trained as investigators who may make targeted arrests, a job that significantly differs from those of many immigration enforcement officers, which could lead to problems in the field during immigration raids. Isn't that funny? Oh, it might be bad because the FBI they might not know how to do immigration enforcement. They're not used to being out in the field. They're just investigators. As if investigation isn't a major portion of the immigration enforcement effort. Just jumping in an SUV with a bunch of armed men and rolling around the streets until you see someone running away is inherently a more dangerous type of activity they are not very well trained for. There's been extensive documentation of the violent and indiscriminate nature of the ICE raids, which have often been carried out by masked men and have at times led to the detention of U.S. citizens. And adding FBI personnel to the mix could exacerbate the chaos and potential for abuses, the former agent said. The exact tasks and responsibilities that the FBI agents now working alongside ICE are unclear. I don't know. Maybe they're investigating. You know? Because, like, that's a really substantial portion of this is investigating. It's funny when people talk about, like, deportations or immigration enforcement. They sort of just have, like, this one-dimensional view of it that it's just like, oh, you send guys out in the streets and they push the delete immigrants button. And, well... okay, based. That doesn't exist. You know? Like, you have to go find the people. And by definition, there may be relatively little data informing who they actually are and where they actually are. Me mashing the delete immigrants button. Here's me with the delete immigrants button. But man, like, that's a huge effort. And investigation is probably a much bigger portion of the entire process than the actual acquisition of the people or apprehension of them. Anyways, this is all just them whining and complaining about stuff. So, but I thought that was worth highlighting that nearly half of FBI agents in the major offices, so they've reassigned them, which kind of serves two purposes. Number one, it gets you additional personnel involved in the immigration enforcement campaign, and it's redirecting people out of these other... It's disrupting their workflows and their daily habits and stuff, which can serve to... If you know that you have corrupt people who are on the take or who are, you know, cooperating with cartels or something like that, and you reassign them all of a sudden, especially in mass, then you can... You're disrupting a bunch of schedules and operations and stuff that are ongoing that can cause things to throw up red flags and can help you identify who and where those subversive activities are occurring with. Okay, so here, this was from Raig Nationalist. He, yesterday on the tweet I read you guys about, the Treasury announcing that they're going to start seizing the remittances sent back by illegals. This Raig Nationalist said it'll be interesting to see if the Mexican president follows through on her threat to mobilize Mexicans in America if remittances are taxed or seized. Organizing civil disturbances in the U.S. would be a great casus belli. And you can see how this would tie in with the rest of the whole Seditious Six operation, activating Afghani operatives, Afghani CIA operatives, and then you've got the cartels, and then you've got everything going on with Venezuela. So if they're wanting to spark chaos, then here's another vector for that. Mexican president threatens U.S., will mobilize to stop tax on remittances. Claudia Sheinbaum, ding, 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 has vowed to mobilize if the Trump administration puts a tax on remittances. Remittances sent to Mexico have dropped to a 10-year low since Trump returned to office and threatened to drop further if a tax on them is brought in as part of the Big Beautiful Bill. Well, it was brought in as part of the Big Beautiful Bill, and it's supposed to kick in on January 1st. And here's another thing where a lot of our guys have justifiably been like, tax the remittances, tax the remittances, tax the remittances. But then it's presented as, oh, this is just a really easy thing that you can just do. This is one of the easy buttons. You just introduce a remittance tax. Well, if you understand what remittance taxes are and the role that they have played historically, you understand that that's not really just an easy button. Because when you press that button, you're going to kick off a bunch of shit downstream from it that you better be prepared to deal with. What sort of shit? Well, here's from Mike Benz. He's got a confidential CIA memo from 1983 on illegal immigration from Mexico. It says illegal immigrants send 1/3 of their earnings back home to Mexico in remittances. This is 43 years ago. 43 years ago, illegal immigrants were sending 1/3 of their earnings back home to Mexico in remittances. It says that the Mexican economy is totally dependent on those remittances and that Mexico thinks we can't politically stop it. This is Directorate of Intelligence, 6 May 1983. Mexico, the new wave of illegal migration. Economic problems, this is the summary. Economic problems and population pressures are combining to push unprecedented numbers of Mexicans over the U.S. border. During 1983, we expect as many as 1.5 million Mexicans to enter the U.S. illegally in a search of jobs, compared with an estimated 800,000 to 1.1 million annually in recent years. 43 years ago, they were anticipating 1.5 million illegal Mexicans crossing the border. Most of the new arrivals will return to Mexico within 6 months, but up to 300,000 may remain. They will join the 1.5 to 2.5 million Mexican illegals that we believe resided here on a semi-permanent basis at the end of 1982. So the CIA's estimation at the end of 1982, 44 years ago, 43 years ago, end of 1982, their estimation was that there was up to 2.5 million Mexican illegals alone in the U.S. Remittances from Mexicans working illegally in the U.S. will total an estimated $1.5 to $3.5 billion this year. Holy crap. Let me do some quick maths on that. Divide 3.5 billion by 2.5 million. Solution only. Yeah, sorry, I can't just do that on the fly in my head. $1,400. So an average of $1,400 annually apiece. How much was 2.5 billion? Oh, sorry, 3.5 billion in, what was this, 1982 USD, 2025 USD. So the purchasing power of $3.5 billion USD in 1982 was equivalent to approximately $11.75 billion in 2025 dollars. So $12 billion, basically $12 billion today. Good grief. We see almost no chance that the current wave of Mexicans coming to the U.S. will slow dramatically anytime soon. Moreover, any substantial further deterioration in Mexico's economic performance this year would cause migration to pick up. This memorandum was requested by the chairman of the National Intelligence Council. It was prepared by the, redacted, Middle America Caribbean Division, Office of African and Latin American Analysis. So then it says most Mexican illegal immigrants living in the U.S. fit into one of two groups. Those who have been in the U.S. illegally for a year or more, and those who enter periodically for a few months. Illegals making annual trips to the U.S. are overwhelmingly young and male. While a majority of Mexican illegals continue to work in agriculture, more and more are finding their niche in services, industry, construction, and commerce. Large numbers now work in restaurants and hotels as dishwashers, kitchen helpers, busboys, waiters, and clerks. Women largely find work in hotels, domestic service, or in light assembly operations. At time of first entry, the illegal is generally literate, unmarried, and has had little experience outside of agriculture. Of those who made several trips, perhaps half are married and support 4 or 5 dependents. Most migrants have been recently employed and considering such migrating costs as smuggling fees of $300 to $500 cannot be among the poorest. Others also make annual trips to the U.S. A sizable but unknown number are small landowners, commercial farm laborers, and shopkeepers. They tend to travel to the U.S. during slack periods in their regular occupations or during recessions at home. Recent studies indicate that temporary workers earn $500 to $1,000 monthly, stay an average of 4 to 6 months, and send home about 1/3 of their earnings. So, what was the median monthly household income in the U.S. in 1983? So if they were making $500 to $1,000 monthly, what was it in? Come on, do you really have to search that many results? 104 web results. Mather says 47,000. It seems like that'd probably be about right. 1741, so actually lower than I thought. The median annual household income for the U.S. for 1983 was $20,890. So that was yearly. So monthly was 1741. All right, so the temporary workers were earning somewhere between 1/3 to 2/3 approximately the median household income. And then they were sending 1/3 of it back to Mexico. So this is like a full industry for Mexico. We see almost no chance that the current wave of Mexicans coming to the U.S. will slow dramatically anytime soon. And we expect Mexico's economy to stay depressed for the next 2 to 3 years and past population growth to continue multiplying the pool of potential migrants. These factors are likely to keep the flow of migrants above the normal trend during the period. And then, according to reports from the U.S. Embassy and academics, Mexico City believes that there is little Washington can or will do to alter the fundamental pattern of Mexican migration to the U.S., even though disagreement over migration could cause bilateral relations to deteriorate. Officials in Mexico feel that the growing political influence of Mexican Americans in the U.S. and the potential for public opposition to strong U.S. actions will prevent massive deportations on the scale of those in 1954 or military operations to seal the border, the same sources suggest. We believe the Mexican policy objective is continuing access to the U.S. labor market. Although government officials have not publicly admitted the crucial importance of this safety valve, the U.S. Embassy reports that migration is viewed as critical to the country's economic and social well-being. Interesting, they see it as critical to the country's social well-being. It's critical to their social well-being that migration into the U.S. continue, and that's probably because the money being sent back makes the country wealthier, which improves social relations, but also probably because the people, the character of the types of people who were immigrating meant like they're leaving the country and they're going and doing something there as opposed to being like disruptive or violent here. Worker remittances are seen as being extremely important in relieving both current and long-term balance of payments pressures. So this was a memo from 1983 that was declassified in 2011. So, Mike Ben says this is pretty crazy to see in a classified CIA memo from 43 years ago. And then he went and he recorded this, the CIA dimension of mass immigration. This is particularly important, I think, to understand with the mass immigration and mass deportations effort. That it's you can't separate this from things like the human trafficking and sex trafficking and drug war and the intelligence operations and everything. The mass deportations thing is an attack on the intelligence community. It's a direct attack on the deep state. You're going to war with the deep state when you choose to do mass deportations because, again, the deep state is a particular manifestation of global organized crime. And mass migration is a massive industry that supports global organized crime. That global organized crime does intentionally for a profit and to accumulate political power. So here is Mike Benz weighing in on this, and I'm going to go take a leak real quick.
Don Solomon at Just the News just published an article that the Afghan assassin who shot the 2 National Guard members was brought over as part of a secret deal negotiated between the CIA under Joe Biden and the Afghan special forces who had been working with the CIA on the ground as part of the counterinsurgency against the Taliban. So this means not only was the Afghan refugee who did this working with the CIA on the ground, but in fact the whole reason he is here is because of a negotiated agreement between the CIA and those Afghan militia and special forces folks who were assisting the CIA. And this is not an unusual thing. In fact, it's so common that I think its impact has to be assessed and frankly declassified as to whether or not the CIA has reached such agreements, for example, with fighters in Somalia, whether the CIA has reached such agreements for resettlement and refugee status in Iraq, in Haiti, in you name it, you name your combat zone.
This one is for the Make
And
More Erickson's
how much
fund.
of
Be
U.S.
fruitful
refugee
and
programs,
multiply. Mr.
these
and
kind of
Mrs.
negotiated
Erickson.
agreements
Make
between
big, beautiful
military
white
and
families great
intelligence
again.
and the refugees are in our whole system. And I bring this up in the context of potential dramatic policy changes. It's common for MAGA folks to focus on the political dimension of mass immigration, in the sense that you have the inevitable math of Democrats wanting to import more voters and immigrants leaning Democrat. But one of the reasons that we have not been able to get this done to date, despite having a Republican...
Oh man, I missed an alpha male alert. Hold on. I got to make sure I'm here for that. We're going to play that again.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk. Here comes the money.
Alpha male alert!
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
This one is for the Make More Erickson's fund. Be fruitful and multiply, Mr. and Mrs. Erickson. Make big, beautiful white families great again.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for that. Apologies for missing it, but I'm sure you guys don't mind hearing it a second time. Oh, thank you for that very much. We appreciate that. I know that you made Mrs. Erickson very happy with that. Got us up to 2611.77, 65% of the way for the month. We just I won't air anybody out. We just had a new member who joined the King Pill Discord earlier today, and yes, I am. You guys are basically the extent of my social life now. I am the King Pill Discord and Twitter group chats and the Astrolabe live chat. You're my people. Okay, so we got to go back, and I'm sure you couldn't understand a bunch of what he was saying while all that was happening. So let's back this up. Thank you, Hail Victory. You're a patriot.
In you name it, you name your combat zone, and how much of U.S. refugee programs, these kind of negotiated agreements between military and intelligence and the refugees are in our whole system. And I bring this up in the context of potential dramatic policy changes. It's common for MAGA folks to focus on the political dimension of mass immigration, in the sense that you have the inevitable math of Democrats wanting to import more voters and immigrants leaning Democrat. But one of the reasons that we have not been able to get this done to date, despite having a Republican president, a Republican Senate, a Republican House of Representatives from 2017 to 2019, one of the reasons that Trump himself extended temporary protected status to Venezuelans as his last act in office, effectively in January 2021, and one of the reasons I think there will be holdouts within a Republican Congress over the actions around remittances that Secretary Bessent just announced, is because this element of our domestic immigration and refugee policy being downstream not just of the internal tete-a-tete of Republicans versus Democrats here, but actually a much larger game in the foreign policy world, vis-a-vis our investments in foreign countries, our multinational corporations and hedge funds that invest in those countries, our interests in those countries, being wrapped up in the immigration and refugee issue in that country.
Welcome, Mathers. Gifted a sub from Bobby Ballbags. Thank you. Yet another great way to support the show. I think we're going to have a record this month in Kick. from all the different subs and gifted subs and different ways you guys have supported through that. So thank you for that. Mathers, I was just about to say something about one of your comments here in the chat. You said that you don't trust Benz. Just kind of showed up out of nowhere. Yeah, I don't. I think he's very obviously some sort of an operative. He's doing like advanced intelligence kind of and narrative formation for someone at the behest of someone. Someone's paying him to do this, very obviously. So then the question is who? And so I just kind of I take whatever information he provides as great. This is a great resource to inform myself about some of these things. But where it's I differentiate kind of between his descriptions and then his prescriptions. And I don't really pay much attention to his prescriptions, but I think his descriptions are useful while recognizing that, yeah, there's probably going to be certain things that he doesn't talk about. But I don't necessarily need everyone to talk about every single thing. You know, I think that's to me, it comes off as insecurity. Like I need my influencers. If I'm going to trust my influencers, then they need to talk about every single thing. I have my checklist of things I need them to talk about. Whereas for me, I just kind of look at them neutrally. They're a source of data, a source of information, and I don't need everyone to be everything. I can take what Ben says and I can put it together with whatever anyone else says, Tom Luongo or you know whomever. Mr. Stu says if you don't trust Benz, you don't trust Tucker. They're both feds. It's what they do that matters. Yeah, I mean, I definitely trust Tucker a lot more than Benz, but the same thing goes for that. There's a few things that Tucker has said and done recently where I'm kind of like, I'm having a hard time recognizing exactly where he's at and what sorts of things he's alluding to when he makes allusions to things. His conversation with Sean Ryan just recently had a number of those where I'm like, I could read that thing he's saying this way or this way. And I really hope it's one and not the other. But if Tucker does start to go in a thing that raises my eyebrows, then you know I love and adore Tucker, but I also am not like I don't have to agree with every single thing that he says.
Makes it so that it's not just crazy blue-haired feminists and bleeding heart white liberals and the whole soup of the Democrat coalition. If you see opposition, for example, from Lindsey Graham or John Thune or the like, what I'm going to try to impart here is part of the reason why. So I've been meaning to prepare this lecture for like months on exactly this topic. And this is what I did over the past 2-3 days was I went over about 70 declassified CIA files from the 1950s through the early 1990s. And then I went through about 15, 20 of those and about 55 leaked classified WikiLeaks cables to compile, basically to run keyword searches around remittances and various times that refugees and the influence of refugee programs was used in U.S. covert action. And I'll just describe one real quick. In 1989, we were embroiled in many issues in El Salvador. El Salvador was a base of major CIA operations during Operation Mongoose, when the CIA and Department of War regionalized the conflict against Cuba, and in an effort to stop Cold War Marxist regimes from deposing U.S. interests in Latin America, the CIA and Pentagon got highly involved in El Salvador and backed a kind of military rule, fomented right-wing death squads to take on these left-wing Marxists. But by the 1980s, the country was going through its democratic processes, and in 1989, the CIA wrote a memo. It's about 60-some pages about the government prospects and insurgents in El Salvador, and noted that effectively the candidate the CIA wanted to win the election had a 60-40 chance of losing, and that another party was likely to win, but if it did win, it could go in one of two directions, one that was acceptable to the U.S., one that was not, and that the entire ability to stabilize the political system, to stop it from falling to the insurgent third candidate folks, the sort of Marxist militant insurgent folks, was by economic stabilization of the country, and that without economic stabilization, the social discontent would radically grow, and the insurgents would gain steam, and the U.S. would lose its foothold of interest in El Salvador. Now, what the memo stresses is that the most important key to stabilizing the El Salvador economy was worker remittances and foreign aid, direct foreign aid.
So, in other words, there's a pause screen. The thing that the CIA was saying in the case of El Salvador was, we have, as a matter of U.S. policy, we have a vested interest in quote unquote maintaining the stability of El Salvador, and so we're controlling the election outcome to ensure that it isn't taken over by some kind of a third party that, in this case, you might be cynical and say the third party that actually represents the people. Well, perhaps it's that, or perhaps this renegade revolutionary third party is itself something that's being backed and fomented by a competing imperial power. And so one of the ways that we're going to block that competing imperial power from weaponizing its influence in our hemisphere is by interfering ourselves and propping up our own candidate. And this is kind of a thing that I think is you can dislike the whole regime change thing all you want, but it's kind of just a reality that, especially in this spheres of influence sort of politics world that we've always kind of been in this world, and it's just taking different forms. But if the United States is going to have a vested interest in what goes on in its own backyard, then the United States is going to absolutely have a say in who the leadership is of any especially influential country in their sphere of influence. So in the Western Hemisphere, this entire hemisphere here, it's preposterous to suggest that the United States would just be like, oh yeah, just let whoever be the governing party in whatever country. This is just a political non-starter. It's not going to happen. It doesn't matter what sort of regime, what sort of government, what sort of leadership class you have. Invariably, those interests are going to collide, particularly because that is one vector through which hostile parties are going to try to wield influence within your domain. So in this case, it's not like, poor little indigenous brown people who just don't get to have representation in their own country. It's that it's just kind of part of being in a small country in the orbit of giant powers, is that your politics are invariably going to be controlled by outside forces. That's just every party's politics is ultimately going to be influenced in some way or another by outside forces. And the smaller you are and the closer you are in proximity to a major power, the more that you're going to have your politics dictated by people outside your country. And your hope should be, and the posture of your leadership class, if they care about their own people, should be, we're going to choose which third party or which foreign actors, which outside actors we're going to align with. In other words, who we're going to pay tribute to. You have your vassal state, and the leadership of that vassal state can't be like, oh, we're sovereign and we're just going to stand up and control our own destiny. No, the control of your destiny that you have is you get to decide who you're going to bend the knee to. That's part of being a vassal. So, someone like Bukele, it very much suits his interests to be a vassal to Donald Trump. And you're going to get the same thing in Venezuela. Because if the United States doesn't take an active role in protecting its own hemisphere and ensuring that it has a say-so in who the governing powers are in extremely influential countries in their hemisphere, someone outside the hemisphere is going to do that. Whether that's going to be the City of London, the EU, Israel, Iran, China, Russia, whomever. Someone is going to have a say-so. And all those different factions there all have overlapping and antagonistic interests, and with respect to each other and with respect to the United States. And so the role of statecraft is balancing all of these things together. So in this case here, I do have some sympathy to, and I could see where the CIA initially was born to protect the interests of America within America's hemisphere. And it was actual American patriots who were doing it, but it quickly got taken over and co-opted by, because it was this Anglo intelligence operation using means and methods and stuff from the older Anglo intelligence world. So it pretty quickly got co-opted and taken over, and the actual American patriots who were involved in the early creation of the American national security state got sidelined, assassinated, sued, scandalized out of public office, et cetera, and it got completely taken over. But having an American national security state that actually works for the sake of America is going to look very similar. Not all regime changes are made alike, you might say. But in this particular case, what he's pointing out is the CIA determined, and this would have been American policymakers in general, made the determination, honestly or cynically, that the stability, the economic stability and electoral stability of El Salvador depended on investment coming from those remittances. So, like, how do you get around that? You've imported all of these people. You've set up these immigration funnels to create a monetization vector to send money back to stabilize that government. Basically, the only way around that, the only way to prevent that, would be explicit financial partnerships and investment in those countries, which is obviously going to come with strings attached. So you need to infrastructure build in your own domestic homeland, but you also need to infrastructure build in other countries as well. For the British, this looked like colonialism. This is what colonialism was. The American system is a little bit different. We'll get to that here in a little bit with Susan Kokinda. The focus, the sentiment of the American system is related and in some ways derivative of the British system, but it's also different.
The memo, I think, describes about $350 million in the budget that El Salvador brought in organically in its own country, $300 million from USAID, so about equal to the budget of that the El Salvador budget even collected itself. That was in USAID, and $384 billion in worker remittances. And what the CIA intoned in this memo was effectively to the entire intelligence community that any
Vox Populi, which is fantastic name. One of our great patriots, Mr. Vox Populi on X, says, "You should read Harlot's Ghost by Norman Mailer, fictional recreation of the first 30 years of the CIA from the OSS old WASP establishment and how it got suborned from within." That is straight up my alley. I really hope that there is an audiobook version of that because I could get through that very, very quickly. Thanks for the recommendation.
Domestic cutback in our own budget to immigrant remittances or to foreign aid back to El Salvador would destroy the political parties that the CIA, military, National Security Council wanted to support there. So basically, if you didn't keep the remittances flowing and you didn't keep the foreign aid to that government, that we would lose our influence or control over that foreign country.
So immigrant remittances is a powerful vector. The CIA is saying, and you can take this completely cynically, but there's also a measure of truth to it, that the United States national security apparatus's ability to control elections and to stabilize political parties, governing political parties in foreign countries, is dependent upon immigrant remittances from the United States.
And El Salvador, the number of illegal immigrants went up from about 30,000 to about 500,000 illegal immigrants and illegal El Salvador immigrants in that 2-decade span between the military kind of rule and the point at which the memo was written. Sorry, it's really late here. But what I'm getting at here is two things happened. The CIA-backed government in El Salvador began to encourage immigration to the United States to get the remittance income, and the intelligence community and military establishment of the United States began to pressure politically members of Congress and the executive branch to not export those illegal immigrants to keep the remittances going, or else we would lose our interest in El Salvador, as well as our commercial interests, our trade interests. And if that
this is directly it right here. That the the CIA was actively working, and this is more than just the CIA. It's not like people who have a CIA badge. This is like the American intelligence community, which has big overlap with corporations and with the legal world and NGOs and all this sort of thing. They were saying that we need to import illegals to provide the cash flow to finance our control of the governments of other countries. This is why mass migration became a matter of policy. And so that's the actual problem that you're trying to solve. This is why, I think Ben actually says this here in just a second, exact same thing that I've been saying. There is no such thing as domestic policy versus foreign policy. These things are one and the same. There is no such thing as the president spending too much time on foreign policy and neglecting domestic issues. Mr. Stu says remittances are just laundered Eurodollars, or rather, dollars to be used as reserves to leverage in an offshore bank to create more Eurodollars. Exactly. I think that's probably exactly the case. All those dollars that get sent overseas, this is a way of generating dollars outside the United States to be controlled and then infinitely rehypothecated. This is why you have all the banks in the Caymans, all these Caribbean financial outlets that are all proxies of the City of London. They're funneling dollars out of the United States. And you could see how, I could understand how an actual patriotic CIA agent or whatever, 40 or 50 years ago would say, there's actually a vector here. Like, we have a national interest in controlling the governments of these countries. And how does that happen? Well, these funding sources go down there and stabilize this particular party that we want. But then that process gets hacked. That process gets hacked into by the City of London and subverted and turned against the United States. You're not going to have some sort of policy where, you're not sending dollars down into these countries to stabilize their governments in some way. That's going to happen. And the great dilemma is, how do you make this happen in such a way that it's promoting the interests of the United States versus undermining it?
That's just El Salvador. Imagine what that is for a resource-rich country like Somalia. Imagine what that looks like for a resource-rich or mineral-rich country like Afghanistan, or an oil-rich country like Iraq. And I think this element of statecraft, independent of the domestic, because like I always say, there's no such thing as domestic policy.
Yes.
Because every domestic policy in one country is another country's foreign policy, and the foreign policy establishment gets to play with the big guns. The military, the intelligence, the covert action, U.S. aid squad, and they have a license to do it under law. And we don't have a license to play that way because they've got the state monopoly on all those dirty tricks. If we do it, it's illegal. If we wire money to a sanctioned country, we get arrested for wire fraud. If they do it, it's an authorized covert action. All right, I'm hitting the 10-minute mark, so I'll stop this now.
So again, I don't want you to take me saying this as me, this isn't advocacy for bringing people illegally into the country to funnel money back overseas. I'm not, but I'm saying that there are deep structural incentives for that, to make something like that happen. And you have to be able to identify and address those directly. Oh man, I saw that comments came in from Lox Populi. He sent a long comment, but I just realized I had my chat set on Kick instead of multi-stream. So I lost your comment that you sent in via X, man. If you want to send it again, the last reply or two that you made to me, something I said to you, I saw that and I didn't have time to read it all, and then I lost it over here. Mr. Stu says, it just dawned on me when explaining to someone the City of London isn't just blaming the Brits. While true, explain it like this. New York replaced the City of London as the financial center of the world and brought immigrants, meaning there are also other parties and races working within and for the City of London. That's true, yeah. And this is where I think it's useful to have the distinction between the City of London and London itself. Because it's really easy to start blurring those together. I know that's a lot of people that resist the, oh, you're just blaming the British. No, I'm not blaming the British people themselves. It's the British system. In the same way that the global American empire is not American, it has Americans in it, and it uses American infrastructure. It uses the American currency, but it's not American qua American. The British system is not British qua British. It's separate from the British people, even though it involves the British people, and that has a history that's tied to the British people. It's like a level of abstraction here that it seems like maybe it's an IQ thing. Like some people can't make these sorts of distinctions because it's you're getting into abstract layers of thought or something that people with less mental horsepower can't keep up with, and so they just get mad. You're not talking about the Jews. Yes, I am talking about the Jews, but it's also not just the Jews. It is the Jews, and it's not the Jews. Simultaneously, these things can be true at the same time. Marco Rubio is the gift that keeps on giving. Here is, so the latest hullabaloo now is about this, the narco boats being blown up. And we'll talk about that scandal, how it ties into the whole Seditious Six thing here in just a second with the timeline of a deep state hit. But first of all, here is Marco Rubio, who is another guy that I'm kind of like, I really like a lot of the stuff he's said and done lately, and I'm growing to trust him more and more, but it's always going to be difficult to completely and fully trust him. But here, this is the stuff I like to see.
I don't think that the European Union gets to determine what international law is. They certainly don't get to determine is how the United States defends its national security. The United States is under attack from organized criminal narco-terrorists in our hemisphere, and the president is responding in the defense of our country. I do find it interesting that all these countries want us to send, and supply, for example, nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles to defend Europe. But when the United States positions aircraft carriers in our hemisphere where we live, somehow that's a problem. So I would say that the United States is, and this president has made very clear, his job is to protect the United States from threats against the United States, and that is what he's doing in this operation.
How's that for a comparison? That just so happens to be made right at the moment that Marco Rubio is deeply involved in these negotiations where the Europeans have been completely sidelined. The negotiations are now between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States. And if the Europeans are being sidelined, that would also mean that there are people within the American delegation who are sympathetic to the European side. You might say the City of London representatives within the American establishment who are also being sidelined, which is why we're seeing people chimp about it so much. So here is the timeline of a deep state hit from Tim on Point on X. Timeline of a deep state hit. A JSOC kill strike is ordered on an authorized target. Not a capture strike, a kill strike. President Obama was quite fond of them, by the way, 500 plus to his name, including Americans. B, the story is leaked. A leak from JSOC? Probably not. The leak is probably closer to the Sec Wars office in the Pentagon. The Washington Post begins writing the story. Number 3, a Soros-funded NGO puts billboards up encouraging military personnel to report unlawful orders, although there are no unlawful orders identified. D, out of nowhere, the Seditious Six, which includes one presidential hopeful and one former IC member who had direct involvement in the original attempt to destroy Trump, that would be Maggie Goodlander, the representative from New Hampshire who is married to Jake Sullivan. She's the one who basically ran point on the first impeachment attempt. The Seditious Six delivers to social media a "Don't Give Up the Ship" video, a public service announcement to all personnel to refuse unlawful orders. The video was funded and produced by a Soros-funded NGO. E, Senator Slotkin, the former CIA ghoul, goes on the news and is very careful to state that she can't identify any unlawful orders that have been given. F, boom, WAPO delivers the story claiming unlawful orders. G, Friday evening, everyone on the left hit social media with paid amplification about the unlawful orders. H, the Sunday shows will be filled with calls for war crimes, charges, impeachments, and resignations. All a coincidence, right? None of it was coordinated, right? Not all civil wars happen on the battlefield. This was Washington Post's headline about it. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave an order to kill everybody in the first strike on suspected drug boats in the Caribbean. After 2 men survived, the mission commander ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions, according to 2 sources. So what they're going to run with now, remember before, what they impeached Trump over was this phone call with Zelensky. Now, what they're going to try to, they're going after Hegseth on this, which is kind of funny because Hegseth gave the order to kill them. But then the thing that's a war crime is that the guys survived the first attempt. And so what they're saying is that when you shoot at a bad guy, it's okay the first time. But if he isn't killed by the first shot, then it's illegal to kill him with the second shot. Really. This is what they're going to plant their flag on. So now this was an illegal order that was given. They're giving illegal orders, which is what justifies the military going into revolt against Donald Trump. The administration does not seem to think much of it, given the what I just gave you from Marco Rubio. Not only is are they not backing down, they're digging in even more. You guys are all about giving weapons to Ukraine, but when we start doing stuff in our own national interest, suddenly that's not allowed. Suddenly that's war crimes. Maybe we need to investigate the history of so-called war crimes. I wonder if there's been sketchy history around the idea of accusing people of war crimes and trying to prosecute them for war crimes. Maybe we need to unpack that history a little bit. Slutty Milk, strange how every side in every war always commits war crimes according to their opponents. Yeah, right. So now you're like really starting to get a picture of how this whole thing works and why they're killing these guys. These are just fishermen. These are guys that are coming in boats as a part of an invading military force. That's what they are. This is an invading military force, and the people who are sponsoring and coordinating that invasion are now trying to use a legal justification to overthrow the government, in concert with the actual physical, violent assault on the homeland. So Tucker Carlson, 5 days ago, I saw this the other day, and I thought, well, that's a very interesting thing for Tucker to say all of a sudden. He said, for months, the Wall Street Journal has held a story detailing the personal corruption of Andriy Yermak, the second most powerful man in Ukraine. Who is Andriy Yermak? Yermak was the chief of staff for Zelensky, and the more that I've learned about him, reading into and just kind of having an understanding of the way these sorts of things work, just sort of intuitively, it's pretty clear that he was the actual power broker. Zelensky was the front man. Yermak was the actual man in charge. He was the one leading from the back, sort of like Dick Cheney with George Bush. So that's kind of what this is. This is like Dick Cheney being busted with corruption. I'm getting ahead of the story a little bit, but Yermak has resigned because there was a corruption investigation into him from this organization called NABU, N-A-B-U, which is a U.S. Ironically, Joe Biden played a major role in setting up this corruption investigation apparatus in Ukraine, which is what is taking down the guy who seems as if he was the one actually running the show. And we got a little preview of what was to come from Tucker. This is why I'm saying Tucker clearly is tapped into something. Someone is communicating stuff with him. He has back channels. Because he posted this 5 days ago. And then the news about Yermak having his apartment or his house raided and then resigning from not just his position as the chief of staff for Zelensky, but also the chief negotiator in the negotiations that are kind of reaching a fever pitch right now. Tucker posted about it a few days before it actually happened. This is what he said. So the Wall Street Journal has been sitting on this story, detailing his personal corruption. Yermak has skimmed hundreds of millions of dollars in American tax dollars meant for Ukraine aid. The Journal's editors can prove that, but they're not. Instead, they're protecting Yermak. Why? Because Yermak is leading Ukraine's efforts to scuttle the Trump peace plan for Eastern Europe. The owners of the Wall Street Journal don't want peace with Russia. They want war. At the same time, the Journal's editorial page has attacked the Trump administration for pushing a peace agreement. This is true corruption. Without informing its readers, the Murdoch family is using both sides of its newspaper to continue the war with Russia. That's not the behavior of a news organization. It's the hallmark of an intel agency. Tucker knows the Murdoch family very, very well. So think about the coordination of these events here. You have Tucker talking about the Wall Street Journal covering this story up, behaving as an intel agency, covering up the story of the chief negotiator in the Ukraine, Russia, United States three-way negotiation where the EU has been sidelined. Yermak is the chief negotiator. He's the one who's directly implicated in all this corruption. Tucker posts about it ahead of time. The White House releases their media bias thing, detailing how these media organizations are coordinated in their lying and misrepresentation. While you have this seditious six going on, while things are reaching a fever pitch with Venezuela. We live in very, very interesting times, folks. Very interesting. And here we have the MAGA grandma. Now Susan Kokinda will tell us about how Trump just locked the British Empire out of the Ukraine peace talks. This is when I talk about the British system versus the American system, this is one thing that Susan's going to get into a little bit in this. Remember that these peace talks, this video I think came, this is November 26th. This was before the information about Yermak broke. So keep that in mind. I just talked about all this stuff with Ukraine's chief negotiator and the real power broker in the Ukraine getting sidelined, while the EU is getting thrown aside. With this peace plan leaking out, all of this stuff, that's all the backdrop for what she's talking about here.
Donald Trump just locked the British Empire out of the Ukraine peace negotiations. Here's a senior fellow at Britain's premier foreign policy outlet, Chatham House, admitting it on record. Europe is not involved because the United States has not seen the need to involve Europe.
Base!
Translation? Trump threw them off the stage of history, which he is now dominating, and all they can do is whimper. But it isn't just about stopping war in Europe, as big as that is. This is a mortal battle between two systems. The American system of building the real economy and securing peace versus the British imperial system of free trade, financial looting, and perpetual war. And right now, Trump is taking a jackhammer to the very foundations of that dying British system. Now, Canadian Prime Minister and ex-central banker Mark Carney tried to pretend that the imperial system which he serves isn't dying. At last week's G20 summit in South Africa, which the United States did not attend, Carney postured that everything was okay, that the summit did the following.
This year's G20 summit brought together nations representing 3/4 of the world's population, 2/3 of global GDP, and 3/4 of the world's trade. And that's without the United States formally attending. It's a reminder that the center of gravity in the global economy is shifting.
Well, the center of gravity is shifting, but not the way Carney hopes. Carney's running around trying to reposition Canada as some kind of major broker. He just came up with a $50 billion deal between Canada and Abu Dhabi. Well,
okay, real quick before we get into this, because she's about to, I want to see an AI version of Susan Kokinda posterizing Mark Carney, just like making him eat her nuts as she dunks over his head, because she's just about to do that. But real quick, regarding South Africa, this is another post from Trump on November 26th. He said the U.S. did not attend the G20 in South Africa because the South African government refuses to acknowledge or address the horrific human rights abuses endured by Afrikaners and other descendants of Dutch, French, and German settlers. To put it more bluntly, this is me quoting what our president wrote. To put it more bluntly, they are killing white people and randomly allowing their farms to be taken from them. Perhaps, worst of all, the soon-to-be out-of-business New York Times and the fake news media won't issue a word against this genocide. That's why all the liars and pretenders of the radical left media are going out of business. At the conclusion of the G20, South Africa refused to hand off the G20 presidency to a senior representative from our U.S. Embassy who attended the closing ceremony. Therefore, at my direction, South Africa will not be receiving an invitation to the 2026 G20, which will be hosted in the great city of Miami, Florida next year. South Africa has demonstrated to the world they are not a country worthy of membership anywhere, and we are going to stop all payments and subsidies to them, effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And BAP, I think this may be the first time I've ever showed a BAP tweet on the Lab. He said, some days sit back and realize the Trump moment is a miracle. I never thought I'd see an American or European government taking a stand to call out anti-white policies of the South African fake regime. Tremendous W, yes. Absolutely tremendous W. And I know the reason that all the fucking doomers, fucking retards, why they're saying this actually is because the entire world has to revolve around the people they spend all of their time thinking about. Not even going to distinguish it with a response. Because if you've tied yourself in such knots that the fucking president of the United States can specifically, explicitly call out anti-white genocide, he is explicitly sanctioning a country for killing white people. If you have to turn that into commentary about the Jews, I just don't want to share a society with you. Just go grovel in a ghetto somewhere.
Well, here's what Trump just landed.
And yesterday, the Crown Prince announced that the number that they'll be investing in the United States is $1 trillion. So that's really an honor. And we just took a picture backstage with some of the great business leaders and some of the great people, friends of mine from your country, and beautiful picture. And while we were taking the picture, I said, could you make it 1.5 trillion?
My president's a negotiator.
She's got something to think about.
The contrast between 50 billion and 1 trillion says it all. Donald Trump is reshaping the world.
50 billion versus 1 trillion. Mark Carney is like, ooh, look at me. I got $50 billion. Trump's like, I got $1 trillion. And you're going to make it 1.5. This is one of the things, like, this is part of the angle for the British system right now, is Mark Carney is trying to give them Canada and all the Canadian resources as a proxy to provide them the collateral that they need to prevent total collapse of their governments through their sovereign debt defaults. They've engineered their own sovereign debt defaults, planning to take the United States down with them. The United States is opting out. Other countries are opting out along with the United States. And they're trying to take Canada and provide the Canadian resources as the collateral. That's what all of this is about. The Ukraine war is ultimately about getting that collateral. They can't have Russia, then they're going to try to hollow out Canada. They're in the process of completely hollowing out Canada and turning it into Canada to the United States is Ukraine to Russia. Exact same setup.
World economically and strategically. And if you're paying attention to what this administration is actually doing, rather than getting caught up in the world of social media psyops, you'll see that we're in the middle of an absolutely historic shift. I'm Susan Kokinda, and for decades, I've been fighting against this imperial system and its sabotage of American sovereignty. What Trump is doing right now is systematically dismantling their control over war and money, the two main weapons that they've used to keep nations enslaved. So if this is your kind of analysis, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel.
This is my kind of analysis.
Today, I'm going to show you 3 things. First, how Trump is closing in on peace in Ukraine precisely because he left the British and the neocons out in the cold. Second, how Trump's economic revolution is exposing the pathetic irrelevance of institutions like the G20 and the climate change regime. And third, what's really driving Trump's revolution and why it terrifies the empire more than anything else. Trump is on the verge of achieving peace in Ukraine for one simple reason. He didn't invite the British or the neocons to the negotiating table. Now, the British imperial mouthpieces at Chatham House are having a meltdown. And don't forget, Chatham House was established over about 100 years ago to try and keep the United States in the British fold. So listen to what their so-called experts are now saying. This is Orysia Lutsevich, who, by the way, also consults for George Soros' Open Society Foundation, admitting that, quote, Europe is launching a massive rearmament program that will substantially contribute to both deterrence and the defense of Ukraine. The goal of those backroom Witkov-Dmitriev, i.e. U.S.-Russian negotiations, is to obstruct this resolve.
Think about that. Think about that. The deputy director of the Russia and Eurasia program at Chatham House says that the official negotiations happening between the United States government with the direct representative of the U.S. president, meeting with the direct representative of the Russian president, that these are backroom negotiations. They're illegitimate. The president of the United States and the president of Russia do not have the legitimate right to send personal negotiators to negotiate a deal on behalf of their respective countries without including some gay European. Hey, Europeans, how about you just fuck off? You fucked this shit up enough already. Just go away. Nobody wants to hear from you anymore. Let the adult nations have a conversation for once. You can go play in the sandbox. Dig up some kitty shit.
Think about what she just admitted. They want more war, more weapons, and more death. And Trump's peace negotiations are getting in the way. But it's not just the British establishment that's out in the open. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt Monday hit at the people in the United States who don't want the war to end. She was responding to misrepresentations of administration actions, and she said,
I have watched as the president and his team have worked around the clock overnight with both sides on endless phone calls, endless meetings to try to bring this war to a close. And any suggestion otherwise is a complete misunderstanding of the facts. It's coming from people who have no idea what they're talking about, or people who are pushing their own agenda, or maybe people who don't want to see this war come to an end. I don't know. Maybe they're profiting off of it.
And J.D. Vance has been in a running battle with the uber warhawk Mitch McConnell since last week, when McConnell accused Trump's team of capitulating to Putin and suggested that Trump should get a new team. Vance truthed out, this is a ridiculous attack on the president's team, which has worked tirelessly to clean up the mess in Ukraine that Mitch, always eager to write blank checks to Britain's foreign policy, left us. Then Vance...
I like her little Freudian slip there. I had to go back and double check this. What JD actually said was that Mitch, always eager to write blank checks to Biden's foreign policy, but she said Britain's foreign policy.
Always eager to write blank checks to Britain's foreign policy, left us. Then Vance doubled down, going after what he called the Beltway GOP, that gets more passionate about Ukraine than about the economic crisis here in our own country. JD said, but you know what really fires up the Beltway GOP? Not any of the above. Instead, the political class is really angry that the Trump administration may finally bring a 4-year conflict in Eastern Europe to a close. The level of passion over this one issue, when your own country has serious problems, is bonkers. It disgusts me. Show some passion for your own country.
So true,
now,
J.D. Vance.
That's the difference between Trump's American First Revolution and the globalist addiction to endless war. Trump is negotiating peace because he excluded the people whose entire system depends on war. And here's what the establishment doesn't want you to...
Yeah, Superior B says, we've had an aircraft carrier or amphibious ready group in the Mediterranean and Red Sea forever. We don't right now. They're all out in the Pacific or the Caribbean. That's what when we were talking about this earlier, I said, where all of these naval assets aren't is almost as important as where they are. They have pulled all of these assets away from the Mediterranean. Remember they positioned them all, they had all of them out menacing threateningly around Iran during the 12 Days War in June, making it look like there was going to be this huge land invasion, and everyone was like, ah! And then it didn't happen. Yeah, now all of those forces are all in the Caribbean. 1/3 of current actively deployed naval assets are in the Caribbean right now. Which means that they're not there to back up any sort of shenanigans in in the Mediterranean or in the Gulf.
To understand, the British imperial model has always relied on two things: perpetual war and financial control. War keeps nations at each other's throats, and central banks and free trade keep them at the mercy of the monetary power. The American system is...
This is a really good point here. Let me back this up again, because she's starting to delineate the difference between the American system, as she describes it, and the British system. And this is where Susan really, really shines. There was a great conversation between her and Richard Poe on Crypto Rich's Politics podcast the other day, where she went into this in more detail, particularly talking about the difference between the national bank and the central bank. And the signs that Trump and Besant are moving us back toward the national bank model as opposed to the central bank model. The central bank model is key to the British system based on free trade and financialization.
Has always relied on two things: perpetual war and financial control. War keeps nations at each other's throats, and central banks and free trade keep them at the mercy of the monetary power.
So central banks and free trade together with war. So you can see how these all feed each other. You need to have free trade. There's no free trade here. There's no free trade here. So we need to have war to ensure that there's free trade so we can position our banks as middlemen between them. And we're going to perpetually expand this system. So you get the banks that fund the war to create the free trade, to fund the banks, to create the war for the free trade, to fund the banks, and so on. This is the British system.
The American system is based on peace, sovereignty, and economic development, and Trump is reestablishing that system. Now, if you're missing this historic development because you're too caught up in the clickbait and the headlines that are purposely distracting and disorienting you,
no breaking
it's time for you to
slop.
subscribe to Promethean Action's free newsletter. We will give you the updates and provide you with the history, economics, and analysis you need to be effective. So head on over to Promethean Action. Now, let's contrast what Trump is doing to reshape the world economy with trillions of dollars of economic deals to the pathetic spectacle of the G20 summit and the dying climate change movement. First,
yes, Mega Grandma told you to ignore the breaking slop. I love how she just she's so venomous about these things like the climate change movement.
The world economy with trillions of dollars of economic deals to the pathetic spectacle of the G20 summit and the dying climate change movement.
Pathetic spectacle.
First, look at who didn't show up to the G20 in South Africa. Trump, Putin, and Xi Jinping. The leaders who actually matter were no-shows. And who were the so-called stars of the show? The EU's Ursula von der Leyen and Mark Carney, whose faces grace the streets of Johannesburg.
Von der Satan.
And failing leaders like Merz, Starmer, and Macron.
Very failing
and
leaders.
All the final G20's declaration could do was sing the old tired songs about sustainability, gender equality, and climate change. Meanwhile, the real economic action is happening with Trump's bilateral deals that are bringing trillions into the U.S. economy. Now, speaking of climate change, remember when every climate summit was front-page news, heralding the end of the world because of global warming? Well, the COP30 climate change summit just took place in Brazil. Trump didn't attend, neither did Xi Jinping or Putin. But don't worry, the monarchy was represented. Prince William showed up to give the keynote speech. And here's the kicker. Even COP30 backed away from its own insane agenda to phase out fossil fuels. The final decision contains no explicit commitments to phase out or transition away from fossil fuels.
No transitioning.
Why? Because Trump is leading a global revolt against environmental extremism. Back in the United States, the Department of Energy just eliminated its climate change offices. The Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy and the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations are no more. They've been subordinated to an office which is focused on producing real energy independence. This is the new American system in action, no longer surrendering to imperial policies of free trade and environmentalism. Now, Trump's victories on the international front, settling wars, ending environmental insanity, forging incredible bilateral economic deals, are all part of the same revolution, restoring the American system that built us into a great industrial sovereign nation. And here's what makes the American system so powerful. It's not just about tariffs and industry. It's about unleashing the creative power of the human mind to break old ways of thinking and discover something new and better. While the imperial model is based on control of money and fixed resources, the American system knows that human creativity can foster genuine physical growth and make the pie bigger.
Okay, get this. Listen to this again. And remember, what Stormy, in the stormy wave, early on in this episode, if you have to go back to the beginning and listen, make sure you do that. We had a stormy wave where he talked about Friedrich List and the necessity of investing in infrastructure, investing in the productive capacity of your own country, of your own nation. This is what makes America great. Our creativity and our productive capacity. And you can see this all the way back to Alexander Hamilton. You can see this thread running through the true American patriots who have built the components of this American system that have lingered, that Trump is now drawing on. McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt. This is the American system. It's the intangible nature of the American person. The creativity and productive capacity of the American person. You have to, the most important infrastructure to invest in is your own people. Versus the extractive, fixed pie perspective of the old British imperial system, which is about exacting profit off of a series of transactions.
Something new and better. While the imperial model is based on control of money and fixed resources, the American
money and fixed resources versus the creative potential of the people themselves.
System knows that human creativity can foster genuine physical growth and make the pie bigger. And this administration is now demonstrating that they know they have to communicate that to the American people. In a recent interview, Trump's special trade counselor Peter Navarro said, "We've gotten the memo on the need to explain that growing the real physical economy will bring down inflation. And all of Trump's economic advisors are now drilling down on these critical concepts in housing, food, and healthcare costs." And Trump himself reflected this sharpened focus, speaking about the impact that the foreign investments he organized from Saudi Arabia are having.
Every new job and every new factory created by these announcements builds up our middle class and really strengthens the industrial backbone of America. And, I view it differently. I used to view it as it's great, great, great. The stock goes up. I view it, everything is jobs now because I care about jobs.
Isn't that interesting? I used to view it as make the stock go up. But now I realize the jobs are the actual signal. My president is a champion of labor.
Trump is pivoting from Wall Street to Main Street, from stock prices to wages. But there's something even deeper driving this revolution, something that America at its best has always excelled at, unleashing the creative powers of the human mind to break old ways of thinking and discover something new and better. There was a remarkable dialogue between J.D. Vance and HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. at a recent MAHA conference. Here's what RFK Jr. said.
And that is, that's what science is. It's recognizing that convention is often wrong and that the people who make advances on science almost 100% of the times are people who are willing to challenge orthodoxies and advance heterodoxies and talk about new ways of thinking.
A workers' party even. Imagine that. A national American workers' party, perhaps.
This is the essence of the American system. The willingness to challenge convention, to innovate, to reject the dead hand of imperial rules. And it's why the British Empire has always tried to destroy these American system policies. Because when America operates on these principles, we become too powerful for them to control.
Yep.
And Trump is reviving this tradition. That's what terrifies them.
Yep.
So here's what you need to understand. While the global elite gathered at their increasingly irrelevant summits, Trump is busy rewriting the rules of international...
Their increasingly irrelevant summits.
Trump is busy rewriting the rules of international relations and economics. He's negotiating peace deals with Ukraine by excluding the warmongers. He's securing trillion-dollar investments while the G20 pretends it still matters. He's dismantling the climate change agenda that was designed to deindustrialize America. And most importantly, he's reviving the spirit that built this country into a superpower. The British imperial system, which has controlled global finance and geopolitics for centuries, is watching its power slip away. And all their spokesman can do is whimper about how Europe is not involved or how the center of gravity is shifting. Well, they're right about one thing. The center of gravity is shifting, but not away from America. It's shifting away from them. Trump has shown us the path forward, but he can't do it alone. He needs an informed citizenry that can see through the fog of psyops and war to the strategic victory ahead. So if you want to understand this fight at a deeper level, become part of our community that can think and act strategically, not just react to the latest headlines. So go to Promethean Action, become a member or a contributor. This has been your midweek update for Thanksgiving week. I think we have a lot to be thankful for. So have a happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching. Please take a moment and subscribe.
I'm thankful for my president too, man. Shout out to the MAGA grandmas. The MAGA mama, MAGA mama. Okay. I got two more videos for you guys. The first one's a little longer. The last one's a little shorter. Here's the one from the House Oversight Committee. So very interestingly, Trump drops this truce where he formally makes this executive proclamation voiding all actions taken by the Biden auto pen. And the next day, the GOP Oversight Committee drops this. Watch our exclusive extended footage of Biden aides admitting how they propped him up as he declined. Makeup, teleprompters for small fundraisers, limiting events, stage managing appearances, reducing his workload, avoiding interviews, even seeking Hollywood's help for the State of the Union. They controlled everything, including who could see him. This wasn't a presidency, it was a production. His own aides didn't know who was operating the auto pen. President Trump just declared all of those actions null and void.
Was there ever any discussion about distance?
The Biden auto pen presidency, decline, delusion, and deception in the White House. Volume is a little bit low on that, so hopefully you guys can hear it. I've got everything maxed out, so hopefully it's loud enough. Jeffrey Zients, former White House Chief of Staff.
Was there ever any discussion about distance, having distance being an issue for President Biden to walk or anything like that?
I think that was part of this conversation, just minimizing the steps as we talked about.
Did anybody ever contact you and say, and ask you if the president actually was okay? He was doing okay?
Yes, I can remember like a donor, I can't even remember which donor. I can remember getting a call after one of his fundraisers. I can't place who it was, but I took the call, and that person was concerned.
What were they concerned about?
Imagine a major donor called me asking me if the president was okay or if he was like senile. This president that we have to change his diaper multiple times a day. And a major donor called and asked if he was okay, but I don't remember who it was. Right. Sure you don't.
I think he had not performed particularly well, and they were struck by his use of the teleprompter in a smaller setting, which I explained was because we needed to make sure these fundraisers didn't go on too long, and it was hard to keep that discipline absent the words being on the screen.
It was hard to keep that discipline absent the words being on the screen. They're at these small fundraisers, and they have to give him a teleprompter. The subtext here being that if we didn't give him a teleprompter, then he would just meander and jabber and just say all sorts of stuff that we don't want him to say. So we're like, stick to the teleprompter.
But it was all about, could he win re-election?
Did the donors' concerns, did they attribute those concerns to issues related to age or the perception thereof?
I don't have a specific recollection, but yes, that the president's age is the most difficult issue in the context of the re-elect, or one of the most difficult issues. And his perception at that fundraiser was that he wasn't able to put those perception issues to rest.
But that was my view was that the best.
This is Michael Donelon, former senior advisor to the president.
approach for us would be to have lightened his scheduled load, and I don't believe I at least ever had success.
And when you say lighten his schedule load, do you mean fewer events in the day? What maybe you can expand on what you mean.
Yeah. Well, what I meant was, sometimes it'd be fewer events a day.
We did have some outsiders at different points in the process. There's a guy named, I think I have it right, Michael Sheehan, who's a speech coach that has worked with President Biden for years. So he would come in towards the end. We had Steven Spielberg joins, I think for some sessions, I think around the State of the Union.
Steven Spielberg. They had Steven Spielberg consulting. And this asshole is like, I think maybe it was around the State of the Union. Really? Like, you don't remember when frickin' Steven Spielberg was brought in to consult for your production of your stage-managed president? You don't remember exactly when that was?
And Jeffrey Katzenberg was also involved in some of those.
Jeffrey Katzenberg, too.
What input did Mr. Spielberg and Mr. Katzenberg contribute?
It was typically around, boy, the language doesn't pop there. Is there different vocabulary? Or this is an opportunity to really slow down and deliver. So it was around delivery and language, not around policy in any way, shape, or form.
Did Mr. Spielberg contribute to any other speeches or events that...
As if the language that's used in major speeches like the State of the Union doesn't have some major influence on policy.
President Biden would deliver, or your time knowing it?
Yes, I can't recall specifically, but yeah, there were other times and important speeches, generally around I think post the State of the Union, around the campaign. He might have been involved in some of the debate prep, for example.
And is the answer the same for Mr. Katzenberg?
Yes, they were generally together.
Did either Mr. Katzenberg or Mr. Spielberg ever approach you and have a conversation about concerns about the president's either appearance or health or age?
They were, I remember, I think it was Katzenberg, not Spielberg, had concerns about the strength of the president's voice, that he wasn't loud enough. So I think that I remember Katzenberg bringing that forward. They both did weigh in on things like, more casual events and take the tie off, which I wish I could do right now. But
yeah, this guy's not enjoying himself. And this is the chief of staff. If you understand what a chief of staff is for a powerful executive office, like, this dude knew exactly what was going on. If anybody knew what was going on, he knew what was going on. It's interesting. Jeffrey Katzenberg is a guy that I've heard. I think it was David Sachs on one of the All In podcasts who identified Katzenberg as from their perspective within that world, that Katzenberg is basically one of the chief kingmakers, one of the leaders in the Democrat Party, basically one of the guys running the Democrat Party.
What I can tell you, however, is that I think the key words here, meticulously stage managed, are accurate representations of what it means to manage a principal. And so
N-word.
when you have a principal, like a member of Congress
Shut up!
or a president of the United
Silly
States,
woman.
every single minute of their day has to be coordinated, has to be scheduled. And so that is not inconsistent with past practices for presidents or elected officials in my experience.
so there were topics like that.
Every president has their schedule managed So what we did with Joe Biden was completely normal.
Can we be shorter and more crisp? You know, there were discussions of should we get him into settings where he's not, how we're dressed today. There were conversations about, makeup and things of that nature.
Applying makeup to the president was discussed.
Sorry.
Did you? Who did you have that discussion with?
I was going to say, I know that was a topic of discussion. I was never in any deep discussions around that, but I was aware of the desire for him to, in public settings, make sure that makeup is applied, which, going back to my Obama days, that happened also, clearly. But there was, let's make sure that we have the discipline of that for public appearances.
Given that,
I wonder why that would stand out. It's almost as if there was particular reasons why they needed to make sure he had makeup on. And what's makeup for? It's for covering things. So I wonder what they were covering. This is Anita Dunn, former senior advisor for communications to the president.
I think that in 2024, the White House made the decision that the president was not going to do the CBS Super Bowl interview. And I think that's what you're asking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you could have asked me.
And why did you advise against in 2024?
What the fuck is going on with her mouth?
Let's start with that interview.
The first, as I remember, I'm going to have to remember this.
She doesn't do it while she's talking.
It was going to be 3 minutes that they were going to show, and then an additional 20 minutes across their other platforms throughout the following week. So it really wasn't the huge interview that, say, Barack Obama had gotten when I was in the White House back then. But the second reason was a timing issue, as I remember, that we anticipated that her report was going to come out, and that we didn't feel that
the Hur report was the Robert Hur. He was like a special counsel or an inspector general or something like that who did the report where they said they were going to not charge him, that he had what was it, like he was negligent with classified documents, but they weren't going to charge him with it because they felt that he was not mentally competent to stand trial while he was the sitting president.
Spending, an entire interview before the Super Bowl talking about classified documents was going to help the cause too much.
When you say 3 minutes, do you mean that I'm really showing how little I know about this? And,
what a frickin' honker.
When you say I'm really showing how.
Look at that thing. It looks like a prosthetic.
Well, I know about this, and please educate me. When you
Higger
say
lookalike,
3 minutes,
yeah.
The interview itself wouldn't last 3 minutes, right? You're talking
No,
about...
the interview was going to be longer. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No,
but...
so were you concerned that the 3 minute clip was going to be not a good clip?
Does she like have cotton mouth or something? It's weird that she does. It's almost like a tick. She's like a lizard or something. But then she doesn't do this while she's actually talking.
Well, we were concerned it was going to be a clip that for Super Bowl watchers was not going to be what we wanted to be talking about.
Super Bowl watchers. Who watches the Super Bowl? We didn't want to put Biden in front of Super Bowl watchers at the time that the Hur report was being released.
And by not wanting to be talked about, you're talking about the Hur report potentially?
I'm talking, yes, about classified documents as opposed to, whatever else the president might have wanted to talk about. So that was the decision that nobody within the White House disagreed with.
We talked about the activities that the team undertook post that stumble. That was not a campaign event where that occurred, but that was applied across the board. I believe we touched on the fact that the president driven by trying to get in and out of the fundraisers, which sometimes use a teleprompter at a fundraiser. But all of this was, how do you most efficiently use the president's time? And how do we avoid a potential of another stumble in what we talked about before?
Do you recall how many cabinet meetings?
Neera Tanden, former White House staff secretary.
President Biden held?
Overall? No.
Were there cabinet meetings, full cabinet meetings, that were outside of kind of the public view?
Well, he had multiple meetings with cabinet members.
But I'm saying kind of the big full ones cabinet? that had the TV pool in them. Like, how many of those cabinet meetings did he have full cabinet? If you know.
I don't know. I mean, my memory was that they were about once a quarter, once every 6 months.
It's the...
Remember, Jill was the one who was hosting the cabinet meetings by the end of it.
Age part of that, and it was around the topics that we've been talking about. How do we get him more time to, do his reading? How do we make sure he has appropriate family time? How do we make sure that when he's in public, he's presenting clothing and other things at the very, very best?
They sound like they're talking about a kindergartner. We need to make sure that he has his reading time and make sure he has an appropriate amount of family time and making sure that he's presenting well in public with his clothing and everything. This is the fucking president of the United States.
Things of that nature. About
checking his diaper.
That he was the stumble, the fall that he had, which could happen to any of us, right? That it not happen again or minimize the probability of that. So how do you reduce the number of steps and things of that nature? So, the first day that
Joe Biden nappy rash cream. I'm sure the dude's probably got hemorrhoids that had to have cream regularly. You did not want to be a Joe Biden staffer. Let's just say that.
not even the first day, as I was leading up for chief of staff, unsurprising to me was we've got to work on the president's schedule. I'd heard back during the Obama administration, the president's time is the most important asset for a White House. And there's demand for many multiples of his available time. And how do you triage those requests? How do you build in some downtime? How do you make sure that a president has enough time with family? So that pressure was part of my job throughout.
This dude looks frickin' miserable. Absolutely miserable.
July 12th, I believe Senator Schumer contacted you and said, as it is reported, let me see Biden or I'm going to publicly request a meeting. Did that occur?
Yes.
July 12th. Interesting. That's a significant date. The day before a significant event. So Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader at the time? He has to go to the Chief of Staff and say, I need a meeting with the president or I'm going to publicly request one. They were in shambles, man.
I think we talked about that a little bit earlier, that Schumer really wanted a meeting, and we arranged for that in Rehoboth Beach.
Yeah, the day before the timeline split. The AutoPen presidency. Read the full report at oversight.house.gov. Wow. Incredible. And the very last one. You guys have probably seen this one already, but we couldn't have something like this happen and not play it on the Labe. Tucker with Piers Morgan.
Elizabeth Kinney from Tranmere. Have you read about this? Go on. She's a mother of 4. I think she's a nurse, and she gets beaten up by her boyfriend. He beats her up. She goes to the hospital. And she texts someone, a buddy of hers, a friend of hers, a girlfriend of hers, and describes the man who beat her up and sent her to the hospital as a, quote, faggot. It's a faggot. And sent her to the hospital as a, quote, faggot. is a faggot. A man who beat her up and sent her to the hospital as a, quote, faggot. And sent her to the hospital as a, quote, faggot. Hospital as a, quote, faggot. A, quote, faggot. A, quote, faggot. Is a faggot. And she's arrested and convicted of a hate crime. The guy who beat her up is not arrested or convicted. And then she goes through this whole kabuki, which is now required, where she prostrates herself before the judge. I'm sorry, it was not a homophobic rant. By the way, you're allowed to be homophobic if you want in a free country. You can have any view you want. But no, because she used the word faggot. What is that? She's arrested, and the guy who punched her in the face was not. That story tells you everything.
Well, I don't know that story. If it's exactly
Daily Mail, baby.
Okay.
Pictures of her and everything.
Not doubting it. I'm just saying I need to look into it. But if that is how you've told it, obviously it's ridiculous.
Would you say the word faggot on camera?
No, into it. But if that is how you've told it, obviously it's ridiculous.
Would you say the word faggot on camera?
No.
Why?
Because
you don't want to get arrested, do you?
It doesn't want to be arrested.
Because it's so harmful to people?
No.
Is that like gay bashing? What's wrong with that?
Actually,
I love how saucy Tucker gets. The look on his face, he's like, ooh, I get to be a bad boy.
my whole issue with the whole trans debate, for example, is you don't need to slide into actually saying derogatory stuff about trans people to make the point that women's rights should be protected. You don't need to.
Well, I agree.
So I don't believe.
No, but it's a magic word.
I don't believe in needlessly sneering.
Well, I'm not smearing anybody. I just think.
But why would you use that word?
Faggot?
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, but would you
faggot,
use it?
faggot.
Okay, but why?
And I'm using it because. Faggot?
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, but would you
faggot,
use
faggot.
Okay, but why would you use that word?
Faggot?
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, but would you
faggot,
use
faggot.
Okay, but why?
And I'm using it.
That word.
Faggot?
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, but would you
faggot,
use
faggot.
Okay, but why?
And I'm using.
Would you use that word?
Faggot?
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, but would you use
faggot.
Okay, but why?
And I'm using it because you're not allowed to because you're.
I'm allowed to.
Go ahead.
I don't want to.
Say, I love gay people. Faggot.
Tucker went over there with the plan to do this. He had to have been so excited leading up to this. You know he planned this. He did this on purpose.
You because you're.
I'm allowed to.
Go ahead.
I don't want to.
Say, I love gay people. Faggot.
I'm allowed to.
Love gay people. Faggot. Say, I love gay people. Faggot. Say, I love gay people. Faggot. Say, I love gay people. Faggot.
I'm
faggot. Faggot.
I'm
faggot. Faggot.
I'm
faggot.
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 I'm allowed to. I just choose not to.
This chick just got arrested for it and convicted.
Right.
So that doesn't have a chilling effect on your ability to.
Look, there are people watching this who will be offended by the use of the word.
I'm sure they
chick.
will. I'm not
No,
anti-gay. I never have been. I can use any freaking word I want.
Offended by the use of the word chick.
Chick. Okay, whatever.
How dare you be so sexist comparing women to chicks?
How about this? Let my life, the way that I actually live and treat people, be the testament to my heart. That's how I feel. I love gay people. Faggot people. Faggot. 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 Faggot.
I'm allowed.
All right, I need my my musical wizards out there to turn this into the most epic EDM song of all time. Please, somebody, Jeff Accordion, yes! I trust Jeff Accordion. I know exactly. Oh, it's going to be magical. Absolutely magical. Make sure you don't miss that one. You're going to have to listen to every single lay between now and then. Because when it comes out, you know we are going to be bumping out to it here on the ASTROLABE. Maybe it'll be a SatterLabe. Maybe it'll be a regular Labe. But either way, it's going to happen here. God, I love Tucker Carlson, man. That's all I got, guys. That's it. That is all that I had planned for the SatterLabe today. I think it was a pretty good one. A Faggerlabe, yeah. maybe we'll end up adding that to the intro. Put it on EWBSX. It'll have to be on EWBSX AM. You know, you won't get that on the family mode side. Make sure you guys download the EWBSX app, and you can listen now. EWBSX FM and EWBSX AM, alpha mode and family mode. Make sure you download the app. It's free. Trump said retarded. Tucker said faggot. Vance, all eyes are on you.
The N-word.
Oh, I can't wait. It's got to happen now.
No, we're not doing that. You're getting called a slur. I don't know which one. Whichever one I feel like saying at the moment.
Your DJ skills
You're getting
are
called a
good.
slur.
Yeah.
Thank you, Flicker Raid. He says my DJ skills are good. I didn't know if it was going to work that well when I did it, but it did it. Yeah, Stephen Miller does it first. Vance has to say Jeet. Yeah. He's going nuclear. Stephen Miller say kike. Yes. We're going to get the entire administration is going to get their designated slur. Which one is Scott Besant's? We got to put our brains together. Come up with which slur Scott Besant gets. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for this fun. Make sure you guys go to church tomorrow, Sunday morning. Go to church. I will catch you guys back here next week with more episodes of the Astrolabe. We'll see if we're engaged in a war with Venezuela by then. Haven't got any updates, so I don't know if Mr. Superior B went to bed or if there just hasn't been anything kicking off. But there's a polymarket bet for Trump to say the N-word. Oh, that's so much fun. He's got to do it just for, he's got to do it just so people get paid off for that. Those absolute heroes betting on that. He has to do it just for them. Cunt. Oh, maybe that's the one. Maybe that's Scott Besant's. Scott Besant gets to say cunt. I like that. That's a good one. It's perfect for him. Have the gigafag say cunt. All right, guys. Go join the King Pill Discord. And thank you for all your contributions, supporting the show, continuing to pay my salary, keep my family in business so that I can come do the Astrolabe for you guys on a regular basis. Stay tuned for much more to come. Join the King Pill Discord if you want the inside scoop on things. Reminder that next week I'm going to go to doing the Labe on Monday and Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll be skipping Wednesday. This is subject to change on a week-to-week basis, perhaps, but I need to give myself a day midweek to get some work done. And the Saturlabes are generally going to be for pseudowaves. Many more great pseudowave videos to come. Got a preview of it today. The next one is going to be an absolute banger, so you won't want to miss that next Saturday. Slutty Mooks is about to be tired at liturgy tomorrow. Worth it. Yeah, well, I'm staying up all night. That's the way I got to do it. I got to stay up all night to make sure that I slept. I was up really late last night, went to bed, slept until the middle of the day today so that I can get some work done tonight. I'll be up all night, and then I will be there for church tomorrow, and then be ready to get a great start on next week. So, appreciate all of you guys. Love every single one of you. Make sure you join the King Pill Discord. I'll see you on Twitter. I'll see you back here next week for another episode of the Astrolabe. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America